I see. What I was missing was just a trace of the essence of the principle of darkness. Jian Wushuang was very excited. Principle of darkness merge. A large amount of principle power rose from Jian Wushuang's body, which contained a strong principle of darkness. In the blink of an eye, the principle power merged perfectly. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's body trembled, and his divine body and divine power began to transform. Ha! Elder Mo Hong stood in the void in front of Jian Wushuang. The black divine sword was still hovering in front of him with a shocking aura. However, Elder Mo Hong frowned at this moment. My attack just now didn't hurt him, and his aura. Elder Mo Hong was a 5th-level ruler, so his perception was very sharp. He could tell at a glance that Jian Wushuang was different from before. The divine power aura he emitted was much stronger than before. Has he made a breakthrough? Elder Mo Hong asked in a low voice. Indeed, Jian Wushuang's aura had reached the 3rd-level ruler level. After comprehending the divine will of the divine beginning realm for tens of thousands of years, Jian Wushuang had finally fused the 6th principle of darkness perfectly, and his realm had also risen to the 3rd level smoothly. Husband. Ruler. In the universe boat not far away in the void, Ling Rushuang and Devil Flame, who had been watching the scene, also noticed the changes in Jian Wushuang and could not help but be overjoyed. Elder Mo Hong, I have to thank you. If it weren't for the dark sword formation you just displayed, it would have taken me a lot of time to fuse the 6th principle. Jian Wushuang looked at Elder Mo Hong with a smile. Humph, so what if you've made a breakthrough? You'll still die. Elder Mo Hong snorted. The black magic sword that was floating quietly in front of him once again appeared in front of Jian Wushuang like a phantom. An extremely powerful and sharp aura was transmitted over. The power of the black magic sword was obviously stronger than before. Jian Wushuang smiled. He had already made a breakthrough, so he did not want to waste any more time with Elder Mo Hong. He raised the Wuxia divine sword in his hand and poured a vast amount of divine power into the divine sword. Although he was a 3rd-level ruler, his divine power was already at the 4th level because of his perfect life level. In addition to the power of his will, which was given by the universal principle, as well as his life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill, Jian Wushuang's sword was no weaker than any 5th-level ruler in terms of divine power. In other words, Jian Wushuang was also using the divine power of a 5th-level ruler to perform this sword. However, Jian Wushuang had comprehended the universal principle and could even combine it with his own swordsmanship, which was unimaginable for a 5th-level ruler. Therefore, a funny scene appeared. Jian Wushuang raised the long sword in his hand and simply swung it. He did not display any extraordinary swordsmanship, but just casually swung the sword and hacked. It felt like an adult was teaching his child a lesson. It was very simple. Arrogant. Even Elder Mo Hong could not help but feel shocked and angry. However, when the Wuxia divine sword struck the black divine sword, a terrifying power burst out. The black divine sword formation, which was controlled by Elder Mo Hong, the 5th-level ruler, collapsed immediately and turned into a black light. Jian Wushuang's sword continued to strike Elder Mo Hong. How is this possible? Elder Mo Hong stared at Jian Wushuang, but the sword light had already struck him. Elder Mo Hong's body was also protected by the supreme treasure armor. However, after the sword light struck him, his supreme treasure armor shook slightly and did not show any damage. However, most of the power of the sword light passed through the armor and directly reached Elder Mo Hong's divine body. The power was ridiculously strong, and Elder Mo Hong's own divine body was not very strong, which caused his divine body to be smashed into a bloody mist at this moment. Buzz! In just a moment, Elder Mo Hong's divine body was reassembled again. However, after reassembling, he did not even look at Jian Wushuang. Instead, a large amount of black light immediately emerged from his body. He turned into a black graceful and fled frantically toward the void behind him at an astonishing speed. Elder Mo Hong had escaped. He had no choice but to flee. The terrifying strength Jian Wushuang displayed with just one strike had completely frightened him. 70%. 70% of my divine power has been destroyed in an instant. Elder Mo Hong's body and mind were trembling as he fled. Jian Wushuang's simple and crude strike, which looked like an adult bullying a child, not only destroyed his sword formation in an instant, but also hit his divine body, causing it to explode. It also destroyed 70% of his divine power. How powerful was this sword attack? Mo Hong did not know, but he knew that if he used that sword attack again, he would definitely die. Therefore, he could only flee frantically. Seeing him flee, Jian Wushuang did not chase after him. "Since you helped me break through, I'll spare your life." Jian Wushuang's voice sounded in Mo Hong's ear. Elder Mo Hong heaved a sigh of relief, but he still fled the void as fast as he could and soon disappeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Buzz! The ancient universe boat arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang rushed into the universe boat. "Husband, congratulations," Lang Rushuang said with a smile. "Master, congratulations," Devil Flame said. "Ha ha." Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. He was also very happy. It was a huge leap for him to become a third-level ruler after integrating the sixth principle. His strength would naturally undergo an earth-shaking change. His divine power alone had improved a lot. As his realm became higher and higher, his speed of comprehending sword principle and universe principles would be much faster. "Ruler, you were able to kill a fifth-level ruler at the second level. Now that you have not only obtained the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual, but also reached the third level, you should be invincible among the fifth-level rulers, right?" Devil Flame looked at him. "I don't know if there are any invincible among the fifth-level rulers, but I dare say that in the entire universe, only a few fifth-level rulers are stronger than me, except for those who have a huge innate advantage like me or have heaven-defying opportunities," Jian Wushuang said confidently. "In the entire vast universe, except for those who have a huge innate advantage like me or have heaven-defying opportunities, there should be very few fifth-level rulers who are stronger than me." Under normal circumstances, this sentence from a third-level ruler was enough to cause countless cultivators to despise and snort in disdain. However, Jian Wushuang was indeed confident. Now that he had broken through to the third-level ruler, his divine power was no weaker than an ordinary fifth-level ruler because of the power of his will. In other words, he was on par with a fifth-level ruler in terms of basic level. The only difference was that he did not fuse so many principles of heaven and earth. However, Jian Wushuang's advantage in the universe principles was too great. The universe principles were unattainable among the countless rulers in the vast universe. There were countless rulers in the vast universe, but those who could truly comprehend the universe principles at the ruler level were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Once a ruler comprehended the universe principles, he would have a much greater advantage compared to other rulers. However, Jian Wushuang had not only comprehended a trace of the universe principles, but his comprehension of the universe principles had also reached a certain level. When he was in the Bone Pupil Starfield, he was already able to pass the first 4 levels of the Principle C. Later, he obtained the Purple Blood Secret Manual, which greatly improved his use of the universe principles and combined it with sword principle. He definitely had the strength to pass the 5th level of the Principle C. His comprehension of the universe principles at this level was no less than that of an ordinary supreme being. Under such circumstances, he could naturally crush many 5th-level rulers with the help of the universe principles. For example, the Star Lord Devil Cloud who controlled the Dark Divine Sword formation was very powerful. He was not the weakest among the 5th-level rulers, but was extremely powerful. However, against such a ruler Jian Wushuang had indeed destroyed him with a casual sword attack. He did not even use his swordsmanship. His strength had far surpassed that of a 5th-level ruler. In addition, he had many trump cards. If he used all his strength, he was confident that he could fight against even an ultimate-level ruler. Because of this, Jian Wushuang dared to say that there were not many 5th-level rulers in the vast universe who were stronger than him. Of course, those who had great innate advantages or had great backgrounds and had obtained heaven-defying opportunities were exceptions. After reaching the 3rd-level ruler level, whether I'm comprehending the Purple Blood Secret Manual, the principles of the universe, or the sword principle, I've improved a lot compared to before. I'm confident that I can reach the 1st level of the Purple Blood Secret Manual within 20,000 years. By then, my strength will improve a lot. I don't need to continue killing in the Qinxing River anymore. I'd better hurry to the 9 Luminaries galaxy, Jian Wushuang said. He passed by the Qinxing River. The reason why he took the initiative to find trouble with the space pirates and kill them in the Qinxing River was to hone his swordsmanship and use of the universal principles. He wanted to comprehend the first 12 crystals of the Purple Blood Secret Manual and reach the first realm of the Purple Blood Secret Manual before he arrived in the 9 Luminaries galaxy. After all, his ruler, Xianxia, was put on a bounty in the 9 Luminaries galaxy by a big force with an ultimate ruler behind him. If Jian Wushuang wanted to help his ruler, he naturally needed enough strength. He did not have enough strength, so he did not hesitate to spend more time on the way to find ways to improve his strength. But now that he had made a breakthrough in his realm, and he was confident that he could reach the first stage of the Purple Blood Secret Manual before reaching the 9 Luminary star field, there was no need to waste time on the way. In the long Qinxing River, the universe boat began to travel at a faster speed. Traveling in the dark void of the universe was extremely long and boring, but experts had to endure loneliness. Jian Wushuang had his wife accompanying him, so he was in a better mood. In a flash, another 74,000 years had passed. Including the time that Jian Wushuang had traveled, he had traveled for nearly 100,000 years. During this time, Jian Wushuang had passed through countless star fields, including 4 galaxies in the universe. Now, he had finally arrived at the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. On the way here, Jian Wushuang had already understood a lot of information about the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. Although the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field was also a great star field, it was much more powerful than the Bone Pupil Great Star Field that he had stayed in before. The Bone Pupil Grand Star Field only had 2 Grade 1 star fields, and the strongest were only 2 ultimate level rulers. As for the 9 Luminaries Grand Star Field, because it was closer to the depths of the universe, it had a total of 8 Grade 1 star fields. In addition, the 9 Luminaries Grand Star Field had existed for an extremely long time, at least much older than the Bone Pupil Grand Star Field. For example, the Bone Pupil Great Star Field had 2 Level 1 star worlds that were born from the universe. Before these 2 Level 1 star worlds were born, no other Level 1 star worlds had appeared in the Bone Pupil Great Star Field, although the true experts were the Golden Feather Star-Lord and the Green Flame Star-Lord. However, although the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field only had 8 Level 1 star worlds, before these 8 Level 1 star worlds, there were already quite a number of Level 1 star worlds that had reached the end of their lifespans and had collapsed on their own. Moreover, there were quite a number of them. Although the astral worlds had been destroyed, the experts who stood at the peak of the astral worlds were able to survive. Some of those experts had gone into the depths of the universe to explore, while others had continued to stay. This had resulted in an extremely large number of experts in the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. For example, there were more than 20 ultimate level rulers in the entire 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. There were even rumors that there were supreme experts hidden within the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. Of course, very few people knew whether or not there were supreme beings hidden within the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. After all, it had been many years since a supreme being had appeared in the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field. And the 9 Luminaries Great Star Field was publicly acknowledged to be the strongest not because of the 8 first-class starfields, but because of the 4 most powerful forces. For example, the Thunder God Palace, which had placed a bounty on his ruler Xianxia, was one of the 4 most powerful forces. It had a deep foundation, and its overall strength was extremely tyrannical. For example, there were 3 known supreme-level rulers in the Thunder God Palace. One of them, the current palace ruler of the palace, was said to be at the top even among ultimate-level rulers. In such a large star field with many experts, even though Jian Wushuang's strength had improved a lot, he had completely comprehended the first 12 pieces of the Purple Blood Secret Manual and reached the first stage of the Purple Blood Secret Manual. However, Jian Wushuang still felt tremendous pressure in the face of the Thunder God Palace. In the 9 Emperor Pavilion in the 9 Luminaries Galaxy. Hello, Bloodsword. I'm Feishue, one of the supervisors of the 9 Emperor Pavilion in the 9 Luminaries Galaxy. A graceful and beautiful woman stood in front of Jian Wushuang with a gentle smile. Although Jian Wushuang was only a 3rd-level ruler, he was ranked on the 9 Emperor list. No matter which galaxy he went to, the supervisor would receive him personally. Supervisor Feishue, I need the treasures on this list. Jian Wushuang took out the list of treasures he had prepared a long time ago. This list of treasures was naturally the list of treasures needed to cultivate the 4th level of the supreme level undying celestial body. The beautiful woman Feishue took the list and glanced at it briefly. She nodded slightly. Blood Sword, my friend. The treasures you want are all available in the 9 luminaries star field. If you need them now, I can try my best to send them all to you within 10 days. However, the treasures on this list are extraordinary. I estimated that they are about 8,300 universe origin stones. But you are a friend of the 9 Emperor Pavilion, so you only need 8,000 universe origin stones. Within 10 days? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. In the past, the purple microgalaxy was only a medium-sized star field. It would take the manager of the purple microgalaxy, Balmer, thousands of years to collect all these treasures. However, in the 9 luminaries great star field, it only took 10 days to collect them. From this, it could be seen that there was a huge gap between a large star field and a medium-sized star field. This is 8,000 universe origin stones. Jian Wushuang took out an interspatial ring. There were indeed 8,000 universe origin stones in the interspatial ring. They were accumulated by Jian Wushuang after killing Thunder Star Lord in the purple microgalaxy and countless star pirate experts in the past 100,000 years. In terms of wealth, Jian Wushuang's current wealth was not inferior to those of ordinary ultimate rulers. Even if he took out 8,000 universe origin stones now, he still had all kinds of treasures worth thousands of universe origin stones. This did not include the 1,000 universe origin stones and a drop of special venom that he got from 9 whiskers. Don't worry, Blood Sword. I will personally deliver the treasures on this list to you within 10 days, Feishue said with a smile. Supervisor Feishue, apart from these treasures, I also want to ask you about something, Jian Wushuang said. You are on the 9 Emperor list, so you are qualified to receive the information in the 9 Emperor Pavilion. As long as it's within my jurisdiction, I can answer whatever you ask, Feishue said with a smile. I want to ask about the bounty issued by the Thunder God Palace more than 100,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang said. Bounty? Feishue was stunned, but she immediately reacted. You mean the Thunder God Palace paid a great price to reward Xianxia? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. I want to know what's going on with this bounty. Blood Sword, I know about this bounty. After all, when the Thunder God Palace issued this bounty because the price was very high, just by providing the information and location of the other party, you could get a reward of 100 origin stones. If you captured or killed the other party, you could get a middle-grade principal treasure and 500 universe origin stones. Such a high bounty caused a great sensation in the 9 luminaries great star field. Many 4th level and 5th level rulers were moved by it. But as far as I know, although this bounty has caused a lot of commotion and many experts have paid attention to it, I haven't heard of anyone who has received the bounty on this bounty, Feishue said. No one has received the bounty? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. No one had received the bounty, which meant that no one had found the location of his ruler. In other words, the person on the bounty should still be alive, Jian Wushuang said. Not necessarily. Feishue shook her head and said, Blood Sword, I'm afraid you don't know that more than 3,000 years ago, the Thunder God Palace suddenly revoked the bounty. Revoked? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Why did they revoke it? Well, Feishue paused for a moment, then she continued, under normal circumstances, an ruler force like Thunder God Palace in the 9 luminaries galaxy would not give up so easily since they had decided to reward the other party. But now they suddenly revoked the bounty. There are only 2 possibilities. One is that they knew that the other party had long fled outside the 9 luminaries galaxy, or even fled to a territory far away from it. Thunder God Palace is the absolute ruler in the 9 luminaries galaxy, but its force cannot touch some distant territories. Naturally, they could not do anything to the other party, so they withdrew the bounty. The other possibility is that the person has been found by the people of the Thunder God Palace and killed. Since he is dead, there is no need for the bounty to exist. Jian Wushuang's face turned ugly when he heard Feishue's words. He knew that Feishue was telling the truth. There were only 2 possibilities for the Thunder God Palace to suddenly revoke the bounty. It would have been fine if it was the first, but if it was the second, Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, his eyes turning extremely cold. The intelligence ability of the 9 Emperor Pavilion is amazing. Is there any way to confirm which one it is for me? Jian Wushuang looked at Feishue and asked. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Feishue shook her head. Bloodsword, as far as I know, the conflict between Xianyi and the Thunder God Palace is very intense. Can be said that the entire Thunder God Palace is furious. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made such a big fuss. At first, it was very big, but later, when the Thunder God Palace withdrew the bounty, they kept a very low profile. It didn't even cause much of a stir in the 9 Luminaries star field. The Thunder God Palace never mentioned the bounty to the outside world again. The 9 Emperor Pavilion knows that you take this bounty very seriously. We've asked around, but we haven't received any reply. If I'm not wrong, the highest level of the Thunder God Palace must have issued a gag order. Gag order. Jian Wushuang frowned. Even the 9 Emperor Pavilion, which was so influential, could not get any information from the Thunder God Palace. It seemed that only the experts at the highest level of the Thunder God Palace knew the final result of the bounty. Even many experts at the highest level might not know about it. Little friend Bloodsword, if you really want to understand the result of this matter, you can only personally look for those experts at the highest level of the Thunder God Palace. My 9 Emperor Pavilion can provide you with a list of the experts at the highest level of the Thunder God Palace. As for who little friend will look for, it will be up to you to decide. Feishue smiled. In addition to the list of the top experts of the 9 Emperor Pavilion, I also need to know all the information about Xianyi, who is on the bounty of the Thunder God Palace, as well as the specific conflicts between him and the Thunder God Palace and what he did, Jian Wushuang said. No problem. Feishue nodded with a smile. Soon, Feishue handed 2 complete pieces of information to Jian Wushuang. One was about the top experts of the Thunder God Palace, and the other was about Xianyi. Jian Wushuang first looked at the information about Xianyi. However, after reading the information, Jian Wushuang frowned even more. It was mentioned that Xianyi was an expert born in the demonic Luo star world, a second-class star world in the 9 Luminaries superstar field. His birth, his gradual growth, and his rise were all mentioned in great detail. Every step of his growth could be witnessed with certainty. Although this process was not very exciting, it was still a bumpy process. When Xianyi rose in the demonic Luo star world, he was not a dazzling super genius. He was relatively mediocre. It felt like he was a very ordinary one. From the beginning, he did not have much fame on his path of cultivation to the principal's master. It was only until he reached the ruler level that he gradually gained a certain level of fame. Moreover, his fame was not because of his strength, it was because he had all kinds of endless methods. He had studied various fields such as alchemy, weapon refining, array formation, and soul. He had dabbled in some of them, and he had a certain level of achievements. Some of his methods were even more troublesome for those who were obviously stronger than him. Although his methods were impressive, they were limited to the demonic Luo star world. However, the one that truly made his name in the entire 9 Luminaries Great Star area was the collision with the Thunder God Palace more than 100,000 years ago. That collision was Xianyi's battle to become famous. He had gone from an ordinary ruler who only had a certain level of fame in the demonic Luo star world to a famous figure in the entire 9 Luminaries Great Star area. He had become well known. During that battle, Xianyi had used his 3rd-level ruler combat strength to not only kill several 4th-level rulers of the Thunder God Palace, but most importantly, he had also killed a super genius of the Thunder God Palace, Lei Yi. At that time, Lei Yi was publicly acknowledged as the #1 genius of the Thunder God Palace and the entire 9 Luminaries Great Star area. Although he was only a 3rd-level ruler, he had already comprehended a trace of the universe principles. In addition, he was one of the personal disciples of the Thunder God Palace ruler. With a large amount of resources to nurture him, his potential was limitless. However, in that battle 100,000 years ago, Lei Yi was killed by Xianyi. Perhaps Lei Yi himself did not expect that he, who was also a 3rd-level ruler and was publicly acknowledged as the #1 genius of the entire star area, would actually die in the hands of Xianyi. It was because of Lei Yi's death that the Thunder God Palace was completely enraged. That was why there was a reward that caused a sensation in the entire 9 luminaries' great star field. He killed the number 1 genius of the Thunder God Palace and was also the personal disciple of the palace ruler of the Thunder God Palace. No wonder the Thunder God Palace was enraged. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. After all, Lei Yi had comprehended a trace of the universe principle. Even in the great star field, it was extremely difficult for a ruler to comprehend a trace of universe principle. For example, in the bone pupil great star field, it was not easy for an Emperor Fire to comprehend a trace of universe principle and was immediately accepted as a personal disciple by the Green Flame Star Lord. The rival Golden Feather Star Lord was willing to pay a great price. However, there was still no second ruler who had comprehended a trace of universe principle. Although Lei Yi came from the Thunder God Palace and had been nurtured by the palace with many resources, it was already amazing that he could comprehend a trace of universe principle at the 3rd level ruler level. Such a genius would definitely be regarded as a treasure by the Thunder God Palace. But it was a pity that this treasure was killed by Xian Yi. As for the reason why Xian Yi killed him, it was for a woman? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Because in his impression, his ruler was basically a man who had no desires. He had been in contact with his ruler for so many years, but he had never heard of any relationship between his ruler and a woman. But now, his ruler, Xian Yi, actually killed someone for a woman, and it was a super genius of the Thunder God Palace. This woman named 8 must have an unusual relationship with my ruler. Jian Wushuang looked at the woman named 8 mentioned in the report. After his ruler Xian Yi killed Lei Yi, he disappeared with the woman. Even the 9 Emperor Pavilion could not find their location. This was all the information about his ruler Xian Yi in the 9 luminary star field and the conflict between him and the Thunder God Palace. However, what puzzled Jian Wushuang was that his ruler's rise in the 9 luminary star field was so clear. The whole process was verified, and he had lived for a very long time. It was as if he was indeed born in the 9 luminary star field and had lived in the 9 luminary star field. But if he was really born in the 9 luminary star field and had stayed in the 9 luminary star field, then what was Xian Yi in the divine beginning realm? Xian Yi, who was put on the bounty by the Thunder God Palace in the 9 luminaries galaxy, has the same appearance and temperament as ruler. There is no doubt that he is ruler, but he has been staying in the 9 luminaries galaxy. It is obvious that he has never left. What is going on? Jian Wushuang frowned. Could it be a clone? Jian Wushuang could not help thinking, but he soon shook his head. His ruler, Xian Yi, had always been enigmatic and mysterious. All kinds of methods made Jian Wushuang feel incredible. Even though he now had the battle strength of an ultimate ruler, his ruler was still a huge mystery in his heart. The more he came into contact with this mystery, the more confused he became. To really solve this mystery, perhaps he had to see Xian Yi again in person. However, he did not know if his ruler was still in the 9 luminaries galaxy. As for whether he had been found and killed by the people of the Thunder God Palace, Jian Wushuang did not believe it. He believed that his ruler was very powerful. Although the Thunder God Palace was very powerful, it was not enough to kill his ruler. However, even if his ruler was still alive, he did not know where he was. The only people who might know his ruler's whereabouts were the top officials of the Thunder God Palace. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the second report in front of him, which was about the top experts of the Thunder God Palace. Immediately, Jian Wushuang began to browse through the information of the top experts of the Thunder God Palace. As one of the 4 most powerful forces in the 9 luminary star field, the Thunder God Palace had many experts under its command. There were hundreds of experts at the 4th level and above. However, among these experts, there were probably only a dozen or so who were qualified to be called the highest level. Jian Wushuang was now looking at the information of these 10 or so people. Among these 10 or so people, the strongest ones were the 3 ultimate level rulers of the Thunder God Palace. Jian Wushuang directly ignored them. After all, although his battle strength was very strong and he could fight the ultimate level rulers head-on, he could only fight them head-on. He could not take them down or kill them. Naturally, he could not get the information he wanted from the other party. Therefore, Jian Wushuang could only choose the remaining experts who were at the peak of the 5th level. Jian Wushuang quickly found a suitable target. The first principal enforcement elder of Thunder God Palace, Emperor Rain. Jian Wushuang looked at the information in front of him. Thunder God Palace was one of the most powerful forces in the 9 Luminaries' Great Star Field. Not only did it have many experts, but it also controlled many territories. For example, Thunder God Palace occupied 2 of the 8 level 1-star worlds in the 9 Luminaries' Great Star Field that were still in operation. In addition, Thunder God Palace also controlled a large number of level 2 and level 3-star worlds in the 9 Luminaries' Great Star Field. Since the Thunder God Palace controlled such a huge territory, it was natural that they had to deal with the emergencies in those territories. Therefore, there was a principal enforcement temple in the Thunder God Palace. There were many deacons and a few principal enforcement elders in the principal enforcement temple. All of them were powerful experts. If anything happened in the territory under the Thunder God Palace, if it couldn't be solved, the experts of the principal enforcement temple would appear. And if something important happened, the principal enforcement elders would personally take action. It should be known that the principal enforcement elders in the principal enforcement temple were all level 5 rulers. As the first principal enforcement elder of the principal enforcement temple and the temple ruler of the entire principal enforcement temple, Emperor Rain was naturally one of the highest-ranking members of the Thunder God Palace. Moreover, his battle strength had reached the pinnacle of level 5. In terms of battle strength, he was ranked 5th in the Thunder God Palace. With Emperor Rain's status in the Thunder God Palace, he is only second to the 3 ultimate level rulers. He must be the one who knows the result of the bounty. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a strange light. In fact, among the experts on the list given to him by Feishue, there were a few who were qualified to know the result of the bounty. The reason why Jian Wushuang chose Emperor Rain was mainly because of his position. He was the first principal enforcement elder of Thunder God Palace. Since he was the principal enforcement elder, he must be out on a mission. Like the other top experts on the list, most of them were in the lair of Thunder God Palace or in some important places. It was not so easy for Jian Wushuang to kill them. Only Emperor Rain was easier to kill. As long as Jian Wushuang used some means, he could lure him out and bring him to him. Although Emperor Rain has the battle strength at the peak of the 5th level, it shouldn't be difficult for me to take him down with my current strength. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and made his decision. However, Jian Wushuang did not move directly. Instead, he waited in the 9 Emperor Pavilion for 10 days. 10 days later, Feishue personally delivered the many treasures needed to cultivate the 4th level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body to Jian Wushuang. In addition, she also brought Jian Wushuang a low-grade Principal Supreme Treasure Armor. Jian Wushuang had spent nearly 2,000 Universe Origin Stones to buy this Principal Supreme Treasure Armor. Previously, he had also bought one for his wife, Lung Rushuang. Although he had already obtained a treasure to cultivate the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body, he only needed to spend some time and energy to cultivate the 4th level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body. By then, his divine body would be comparable to an ordinary low-grade Principal Supreme Treasure. However, having a protective armor at the level of a Principal Supreme Treasure would still greatly improve his protective ability. Most importantly, he could activate the power of the armor, which would also help his strength to a certain extent. After getting what he wanted, Jian Wushuang left the 9 Emperor Pavilion. Husband, should we directly deal with Emperor Rain, or find a place for you to cultivate the 4th level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body? Lung Rushuang asked. Let's deal with Emperor Rain first. As for the 4th level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body, although I have obtained a treasure to help me cultivate it, it will take me at least 1 to 2,000 years to ruler it. I can't wait that long, Jian Wushuang said. 1 to 2,000? Lung Rushuang was stunned. In his opinion, with his husband's talent and perception, and with the help of a cultivation treasure, it should be easy for him to ruler the secret skill. He didn't expect it to take so long. It's normal. I've been cultivating the 2nd and 3rd levels for more than 10,000 years in the Space-Time Tower, which is 1,000 times faster than time. The 4th level is more difficult than the first 3 levels. Although it's easier for me to comprehend it now that I've made a breakthrough, it still takes time, Jian Wushuang said. In that case, let's deal with Emperor Rain first. Husband, how do you plan to lure him out? Lung Rushuang asked. That's easy. I've read The Intelligence on Emperor Rain and know that he has a disciple guarding a second-class astral world under the command of Thunder God Palace. Although he has many disciples, this one is definitely one of the more outstanding ones among his disciples. If we kill his disciple directly, he will come out and kill us in anger. Then we will take him down, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Good idea. Lung Rushuang nodded with a smile. Immediately, the three of them set off. There were countless star worlds in the 9 luminaries' great star field, including many second-class star worlds. In one of the ordinary second-class star worlds, there was a group of towering buildings at the top of a high mountain. The buildings were extremely magnificent, especially one of the ancient purple towers, which directly pierced into the clouds above. It was like a heavenly palace, guarding everything in this astral world. In the void outside the mountain, Jian Wushuang and Leng Rushuang stood side by side, while Devil Flame stood behind Jian Wushuang. Devil Flame, when we were on our way, I swallowed many special crystals for you. Your cultivation has recovered to the 5th level, and your battle strength should be among the top of the 5th level. It's most suitable for you to deal with the disciple of Emperor Rain. Go. Jian Wushuang instructed. Yes. Devil Flame nodded, and then immediately moved toward the towering buildings on the mountain. After a short moment, boom! A terrifying boom, accompanied by the shaking of heaven and earth, resounded through the void. The towering buildings on the peak of the mountain turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. Countless figures rushed out from the ruins in a sorry state. Blood Thunder Cliff, you didn't think that my Devil Flame could come back alive, did you? 1 billion years ago, you destroyed my sect and killed my parents. Today, I will make you pay with blood. All of you must die. A cold voice filled with endless killing intent spread out from the black-clothed tall man in the void above. This tall black-robed man's aura towered into the sky. He was like a black demonic god, suppressing everything below. The countless cultivators who had come out of the buildings in a sorry state saw this tall black-robed man, and their expressions changed drastically. He's too powerful. He destroyed my Blood Thunder Cliff's defensive formation with just one move. This strength must be that of a 5th-level ruler. Moreover, he's probably one of the extremely powerful ones among 5th-level rulers. This expert is obviously here for revenge. We're finished. Run. Run quickly. Terrified voices rang out one after another, and countless cultivators of the Blood Thunder Cliff began to flee frantically. The Blood Thunder Cliff was actually a branch of the Thunder God Palace in this 2nd-level astral world. It was in charge of everything in this 2nd-level astral world for the Thunder God Palace. However, if such a force wanted to completely principle the entire 2nd-level astral world, it was inevitable that it would destroy many rival forces and sections. Over the long years, the Blood Thunder Cliff had destroyed countless forces and sects. Their enemies were even more numerous. However, because the Blood Thunder Cliff was already extremely powerful, it had 2 Grade 4 rulers. The Thunder God Palace had even sent one over, a total of 3 Grade 4 rulers in a Grade 2 astral world. They could absolutely be the king and the ruler. Thus, over the course of many years, none of the enemies of the Blood Thunder Cliff dared to come knocking on their doors. It was precisely because of this that the Devil Flame, as the enemy of the Blood Thunder Cliff, came knocking on their doors. This also lowered the defenses of the Thunder God Palace. Boom! The black-robed demonic god, who was located at the highest point of the void, attacked directly. He moved like lightning and easily killed all the escaping experts one by one. At the same time he killed these experts, his gaze had long been fixed on a person. It was a cold-looking man in silver armor. This cold-looking man was also running away. Moreover, he had deliberately concealed his aura. His method of concealing his aura was quite brilliant. If it was not for Devil Flame knowing his appearance and the fact that he had already set his eyes on him, he might have taken the opportunity to escape. Who? Devil Flame appeared directly in front of the cold-looking man in silver armor as if he had teleported. His ice-cold killing intent instantly covered the cold-looking man. Not good. The cold-looking man's expression changed drastically. Seeing Devil Flame in front of him, he was ready to attack. He immediately shouted, "Stop! I'm from the Thunder God Palace. My ruler is the #1 principal enforcement elder of the Thunder God Palace, Emperor Rain Ruler. If you dare to kill me, my ruler will definitely not let you off. Thunder God Palace? Emperor Rain Ruler. Devil Flame frowned, but he was secretly laughing in his heart. This cold-looking man actually brought out the Thunder God Palace and Emperor Rain Ruler to threaten him at the critical moment. This was what Devil Flame wanted. Humph, what Thunder God Palace, what Emperor Rain Ruler? I've never heard of it. You'd better die. Devil Flame attacked without hesitation. No! The cold-looking man let out a miserable cry. Under the absolute suppression of his strength, he couldn't even last 2 moves before he was killed by Devil Flame on the spot. After killing the cold-looking man in front of him, the Devil Flame pretended to continue chasing after the fleeing experts from the Blood Thunder Cliff. It only stopped after all the cultivators from the Blood Thunder Cliff had fled. Ruler, I've killed Emperor Rain's disciple according to your instructions. What should I do next? The Devil Flame sent a message to Jian Wushuang. Don't worry. Just stay in the Blood Thunder Cliff and pretend that you're looting the treasures accumulated in the Blood Thunder Cliff. If everything goes well, Emperor Rain will get the news soon and come here as soon as possible. Then I'll take him down, Jian Wushuang said. Yes, Devil Flame nodded. He immediately began looting the Blood Thunder Cliff according to Jian Wushuang's instructions. As Jian Wushuang had expected, Emperor Rain, who was far away in the Thunder God Palace's lair, immediately received the news shortly after the cold-faced man's death. In the principal enforcement temple of Thunder God Palace. Bastard! A low shout suddenly exploded in the void, and then an extremely violent aura suddenly rose. 3rd Elder, 8th Elder, follow me, the voice ordered. Soon, 3 figures rushed out from the principal enforcement temple. The other 2 were fine, but the leader had a shocking killing intent. Wherever he passed, the surrounding experts of Thunder God Palace could feel his unconcealable killing intent. What's going on? Emperor Rain Ruler, what's going on? Who knows? Something might have happened. Many cultivators in Thunder God Palace were discussing. And at this moment, Emperor Rain, an aged voice suddenly sounded. The 3 figures immediately stopped. The eyes of the golden-haired burly man in the lead were filled with an unconcealable fierceness. But when he saw the aged figure in front of him, the ferocity in his eyes also slightly receded. Grand Elder. The 2 principal enforcement elders behind the Emperor Rain Ruler immediately bowed respectfully. Emperor Rain, what happened? The old figure asked. It's Zhenfu. He was killed. The Emperor Rain Ruler said in a low voice. Zhenfu? That little fellow died. The old figure frowned slightly. He could understand why the Emperor Rain Ruler was so furious. Emperor Rain Ruler did have many disciples, but those who had made some achievements could be counted on one hand. Zhenfu was undoubtedly the most outstanding disciple under Emperor Rain Ruler. He was now a 4th-level ruler. In the future, he had a chance to reach the 5th level. He could even take his place and become the new 1st principal enforcing elder of the principal enforcing temple. Emperor Rain Ruler placed great importance on this disciple of his. Who killed that little fellow? The old figure asked. It was a 5th-tier ruler who appeared out of nowhere. He seems to have a deep grudge with a branch faction under the Thunder God Palace. Previously, he had been escaping. Now that his strength has broken through, he ran back to take revenge. As for Zhenfu, he happened to be stationed there all these years, so he met with misfortune. Emperor Rain Ruler gnashed his teeth. Is that so? The old figure understood. 1st Elder, I won't talk to you anymore. If we delay any longer, that fellow will escape. Emperor Rain Ruler was extremely anxious. He brought the 2 principal enforcement elders under his command and immediately headed toward the 2nd-grade astral world. After Emperor Rain Ruler left, that old figure frowned and seemed to be deep in thought. On the top of the mountain, the Blood Thunder Cliff had completely turned into ruins. Only the Devil Flame was still plundering treasures in the ruins. However, not long after the Devil Flame destroyed the Blood Thunder Cliff, 3 figures with powerful auras arrived. They arrived so quickly? Devil Flame raised his head and looked at the 3 people who had just arrived. These three people were all fifth-level rulers, and the person in the lead had reached the peak of the fifth level. After this person arrived, an extremely violent aura immediately rose into the air. The gaze he used to look at Devil Flame was filled with hatred and anger. "Who are you?" Although Devil Flame already knew in his heart, he still asked despite knowing the answer. "You killed so many people under the command of my Thunder God Palace, and most importantly, you killed my disciple. You actually don't know who I am." Emperor Rain Ruler stared at Devil Flame, and his eyes seemed like they were about to spurt out sparks. "You are Emperor Rain Ruler?" Devil Flame revealed a shocked expression. "Since you know, then hurry up and take your life. Let's attack together and kill him." As the #1 principal enforcement elder of Thunder God Palace, Emperor Rain was always swift and decisive. He did not waste any time with Devil Flame and directly attacked. Not only Emperor Rain, but the other two principal enforcement elders also attacked Devil Flame at the same time. The three fifth-level rulers were all peak existences among the fifth-level rulers, especially Emperor Rain Ruler, who had reached the pinnacle of the fifth-level rulers. The three of them making their moves at the same time was simply too powerful. Devil Flame's gaze was cold, and he wasn't afraid at all. He directly went up and fought with the three rulers. Boom! 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 A series of earth-shaking explosions sounded one after another. The Blood Thunder Cliff, which had been turned into ruins, suffered unprecedented destruction and became even more miserable. In the void not far away from the Blood Thunder Cliff, Jian Wushuang and Leng Rushuang stood side by side. They could directly see the battlefield in front of them. They are at least three rulers at the peak of the fifth level, and Emperor Rain is only second to the ultimate ruler. He won't be able to resist the Devil Flame if they join hands, Leng Rushuang said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. After all, Devil Flame's divine body has just recovered to 50%, and his cultivation has barely reached the fifth level. Although he has the memory and skills of an ultimate ruler and has the combat strength at the peak of the fifth level, he is at best on par with Emperor Rain. Now, he is at a disadvantage against three rulers. Shuang wait here. I'll go help Devil Flame, Jian Wushuang ordered. Okay. Leng Rushuang nodded. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang dashed forward. In an instant, Jian Wushuang appeared on the battlefield. As soon as he appeared, Devil Flame, who had been fighting with the three principal enforcement elders, immediately stopped and came behind him. Master! Devil Flame called out respectfully. Thank you for your hard work, Jian Wushuang said. The simple exchange was heard by Emperor Rain and the other two. Master! Emperor Rain could not help being stunned. This mysterious expert who single-handedly destroyed Blood Thunder Cliff and killed my disciple, whose battle strength is no less than mine, actually called this third-level ruler as his master? Emperor Rain felt a little incredulous. The two principal enforcement elders beside him also felt the same way. Emperor Rain, I've been waiting for you here for a long time, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Waiting for me for a long time? Emperor Rain's expression changed, but his pupils immediately shrank. The person who really has a grudge against Blood Thunder Cliff is you? Did you ask your servant to kill my disciple? I did ask him to kill your disciple. As for me and Blood Thunder Cliff, we don't have any grudges. The reason I asked him to do this was to lure you here, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Emperor Rain's expression suddenly changed. He was not a fool. He immediately reacted after hearing Jian Wushuang's words. The mysterious cultivator in front of him, who was unknown but had a superior ruler of the fifth level as his servant, did not really want Blood Thunder Cliff, but for him. He had destroyed the Blood Thunder Cliff and killed his disciple just to lure him here from the Thunder God Palace. You dare to scheme against me after killing my disciples? Brat! You are really courting death. Emperor Rain Ruler was completely enraged. He was originally a violent person, which was why he was the #1 principal enforcing elder of the Thunder God Palace and was responsible for enforcing the principle. Now that he knew that he had been tricked by a third-level ruler, he was naturally very angry. Boom! Emperor Rain attacked again, and the other two principal enforcement elders beside him also attacked at the same time. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they focused on Jian Wushuang. However, although they were eager to kill Jian Wushuang, they focused most of their energy on the devil flame behind Jian Wushuang. They did not care about Jian Wushuang because he was only a third-level ruler. On the contrary, they knew that his servant devil flame was also very powerful. However, at this moment the third-level ruler Jian Wushuang, who they did not care about, moved. He took out the Wuxia divine sword and suddenly moved. Swish! 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 The vast void was filled with thousands of afterimages of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang crossed the distance directly, and the Wuxia divine sword in his hand also flew out. Emperor Rain and the two principal enforcement elders' eyes instantly fixed on the sword that Jian Wushuang swung out. The sword attack gave them a very strange feeling. It was slow and soft, as if it felt a bit of power. However, this sword attack made the three of them shiver. Chi! 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 The cold sword edge directly cut through their divine bodies. In an instant, the supreme treasure armor on two of their bodies was torn apart. The terrifying power of the sword shadow destroyed their divine bodies on the spot and madly destroyed their divine power. Under the impact of the sword shadow, more than 70% of the divine power of the two principal enforcement elders was destroyed. As for Emperor Rain, as a member of the highest level of the Thunder God Palace, not only was his strength much stronger, but he also had an inferior grade principal supreme treasure armor protecting his body. Although Jian Wushuang could now use part of the power of the Wuxia divine sword and easily tear apart ordinary supreme treasure armor, he could not directly tear apart the principal supreme treasure armor. Therefore, although this sword attack had severely injured Emperor Rain, it did not cause him to lose more than 70% of his divine body. However, this sword attack had completely stunned the three of them. How is this possible? A third-level ruler can destroy 70% of our divine power with one strike? This is impossible. The two principal enforcement elders were terrified and stared at Jian Wushuang with wide eyes. How can he be so strong? And his swordsmanship is so fast that even I am not qualified to resist it. How can a third-level ruler be so terrifying? Emperor Rain looked at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. He did not know that Jian Wushuang had killed a fifth-level ruler when he was a second-level ruler. After he broke through to the third-level ruler, his divine power was no weaker than that of a fifth-level ruler. With his great advantage in the principles, he could easily kill a fifth-level ruler like an adult bullying a child. He could easily kill a fifth-level ruler. Apart from that, he also obtained the Violet Blood Secret Manual, which gave him a certain level of control over the principles of the universe. He was even able to perfectly combine the principles of the universe with his own sword Dao, reaching the first realm mentioned in the Violet Blood Secret Manual. Once he reached this first realm, his overall strength once again soared. Right now, in terms of combat power, he had long surpassed a fifth-level ruler. Even compared to an ultimate ruler, he was still infinitely inferior. Moreover, because of the perfect combination of the universe principle and his sword principle, his swordsmanship was extremely exquisite. Perhaps even the ultimate rulers who were good at sword principle were far inferior to him in swordsmanship. Naturally, he could easily kill these fifth-level rulers. Even the top-level rulers of the fifth level could only take one or two sword strikes from Jian Wushuang. The three of you are already very powerful among the rulers of the fifth level, but one strike is not enough. What about another one? Jian Wushuang smiled. He raised the Wuxia divine sword in his hand again. Oh no! The faces of Emperor Rain and the other two changed drastically. Run! Run! Emperor Rain shouted in a low voice. At this moment, Emperor Rain ruler no longer wanted to take revenge for his disciple. He was very clear that the other party's strength was so tyrannical, and it was obvious that they were here for him. Naturally, he was prepared. If he was not careful in today's matter, he, Emperor Rain ruler, would very likely die here, not to mention the two principal enforcement elders beside him who were not even as strong as him. Following Emperor Rain's shout, the three figures fled at the same time. But just as Emperor Rain had said, since Jian Wushuang had lured him here on purpose, he was prepared. How could he give them a chance to escape? With a thought, the three towering golden stone tablets immediately rose up. The 3 heaven suppression tablets appeared from 3 different voids around the Blood Thunder Cliff. Obviously, Jian Wushuang had placed the 3 stone tablets there and activated them as soon as Emperor Rain and the others fell into the trap. As expected, as soon as Jian Wushuang activated the 3 heaven suppression tablets, the divine devil heaven suppressing formation was activated and covered the vast void. Naturally, it also completely covered Emperor Rain and the others. The terrifying suppressive force directly affected Emperor Rain and the others. As soon as the divine devil heaven suppressing formation was formed, it completely blocked the escape route of the 3 people. Oh no, it's a suppression formation. I was prepared for it. Emperor Rain's expression was extremely ugly. He immediately recognized that the 3 golden stone tablets were suppression-type supreme treasures. The suppression formation activated by the 3 suppression-type supreme treasures was so powerful that the 3 fifth-level rulers could not break it. The terrifying suppression force that came directly at them made Emperor Rain and the others feel despair. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had caught up with them. Without the suppression of the divine devil heaven suppressing formation, the 3 of them could not resist Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship at all. However, under the divine devil heaven suppressing formation, their strength was greatly suppressed, and Jian Wushuang's strength had increased again. Now he was displaying his swordsmanship. Qi, qi, qi. Before the 2 ordinary principal enforcement elders could even let out a scream, their divine bodies collapsed again. This time, they had no chance to regenerate their divine bodies and were directly killed. As for Emperor Rain, his endurance was indeed much stronger than the 2 principal enforcement elders. However, after 2 consecutive strikes, his divine power had been reduced by nearly 50%. If Jian Wushuang continued to attack, he would definitely die. Emperor Rain could no longer see any hope of escaping, but his eyes were still cold and filled with violence as he stared at Jian Wushuang. He said sternly, "Boy, what is the grudge between you and me? Why are you scheming against me? Even if I die, you have to let me die with closure." Grudge? No, there was no grudge between us before. The reason why I came to deal with you this time is because you are the first principal enforcement elder of the Thunder God Palace and one of the highest-ranking officials of the palace. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. What? Emperor Rain narrowed his eyes. You have enmity with the Thunder God Palace? No, I just want to know something from you. I'll ask you now. If your answer satisfies me, maybe I'll let you live. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Emperor Rain stared at Jian Wushuang. He wanted to see if Jian Wushuang was lying, but it was obvious that Jian Wushuang was not lying. What do you want to know? Emperor Rain asked in a deep voice. More than 100,000 years ago, Lei Yi, the number 1 genius of your Thunder God Palace, was killed. After that, your Thunder God Palace issued a bounty, causing a great sensation in the entire 9 Luminaries galaxy. However, not long ago, your Thunder God Palace kept a low profile and removed the reward. Why? And the person on the bounty, how is he now? Jian Wushuang looked at Emperor Rain. Bounty? Emperor Rain looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. You're here for the person on the bounty? Yes. Jian Wushuang did not deny it. Haha, I see. I'm surprised that the Thunder God Palace has an enemy that is an absolute ruler in the 9 Luminaries galaxy. Although we have enemies, there are only a few who can really threaten us. However, your strength must be the strongest among the many potential enemies of the Thunder God Palace. However, the Thunder God Palace did not receive any information before, which is obviously illogical. Now it seems that you're not a cultivator from the 9 Luminaries galaxy, but from another galaxy. Moreover, your relationship with Xianxia must be extraordinary. Emperor Rain laughed. I'm asking you, what's the whereabouts of the person on the bounty? Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. Boy, do you think I will answer your question honestly? Who do you think you are? A supreme elder? Emperor Rain mocked. It's okay if you don't say it now. After I suppress you, I will have time to ask you slowly. Jian Wushuang did not waste time with Emperor Rain. He waved his hand. Instantly, the 3 heaven suppression tablets in the surrounding void burst out with dazzling golden light. On the heaven suppression tablet, the 3 enormous golden divine devil phantoms condensed, and the already powerful suppressive force rose again. A suppression-type principal treasure? Emperor Rain's pupils constricted. The suppressive force of a suppression-type principal treasure was already very powerful. He still had more than half of it left and could barely resist the suppressive force. However, once he was seriously injured and fell into a weakened state, Jian Wushuang could control the principal-type supreme treasure and completely suppress him. His life and death would be controlled by his opponent. You want to suppress me? In your dreams. Emperor Rain roared and struggled desperately in the Divine Devil Heaven suppressing formation. However, the Divine Devil Heaven suppressing formation was a powerful suppressive formation performed by 3 heaven suppression tablets at the same time. If Jian Wushuang were to perform it personally, Emperor Rain would not be able to escape the suppressive power of the Divine Devil Heaven suppressing formation. At the same time, Jian Wushuang also made a decisive move. Whoosh! 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 One after another, mysterious sword lights slashed toward Emperor Rain. These sword lights were imbued with a rich universal principle. They were unfathomable and incredibly fast. Emperor Rain could barely withstand 1 or 2 of them, but the remaining ones were still standing on his divine body. 1 sword, 2 swords. After just a few swords, more than 80% of Emperor Rain's divine power had been destroyed. His aura had become extremely weak. At this point, it would be extremely difficult for him to block the suppressive force of the heaven suppression array. But at this moment, a change occurred. Boom! A pale palm appeared out of thin air. This palm expanded infinitely in the air, and in an instant, it forcefully tore open a hole in the heaven suppression array. It then grabbed Emperor Rain. The entire Divine Devil Heaven suppressing formation shook violently. The 3 golden Divine Devil Phantoms on the Heaven Suppression Tablet dimmed slightly, and the entire formation almost collapsed. Eh? Jian Wushuang frowned. With his current strength, the Divine Devil Heaven suppressing formation cast by the 3 Heaven Suppression Tablets was forcefully torn apart and almost collapsed. His opponent's strength was extraordinary. Buzz! An old figure appeared in the magic formation and stood beside Emperor Rain. First Elder. Seeing the arrival, Emperor Rain, who was already extremely weak and almost despaired, was overjoyed. His eyes shone with a dazzling light again. First Elder. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He knew all the information about the top officials of the Thunder God Palace. Among them, the 3 ultimate-level rulers were the strongest and most respected. The first Elder of the Thunder God Palace was one of the 3 ultimate-level rulers. Ultimate-level rulers? Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, but he was very surprised. When I attacked, I had already completely sealed off the surrounding space and time. Although Emperor Rain was in a desperate situation, he shouldn't have been able to send a message for help. Even if he could, the senior experts of the Thunder God Palace shouldn't have been able to arrive so quickly. But this great elder, how did he know that Emperor Rain was in danger, and how did he arrive here in time? Jian Wushuang was very confused. But in fact, not only him but also Emperor Rain was very surprised. First Elder, why are you here? Emperor Rain asked immediately. When I saw you in the palace, I already knew something was wrong, the old figure said. Our Thunder God Palace has stood in the 9 Luminaries galaxy for a long time, and we have many enemies. However, only a handful of them can reach the 5th level. Moreover, under the strong influence of our Thunder God Palace, these enemies usually hide. It's already good enough that our Thunder God Palace doesn't actively pursue them. Who has the courage to directly take revenge on our Thunder God Palace? And this time, it was an unknown powerhouse who suddenly destroyed the Blood Thunder Cliff. Your disciple Xinhuang happened to be there as well. This is too much of a coincidence. So, when you rushed out to avenge your disciple, I followed you secretly just in case. Unfortunately, I was a little slow and could only save you in time. I couldn't save the 2 principal enforcing elders as well. The first elder of Thunder God Palace side. Whether it was Emperor Rain and the other 2 or the first elder of Thunder God Palace, they all arrived at the 2nd grade astral world through the universe passage. However, after the same universe passage was activated once, it would take a while for it to be activated a second time. It was during this time that the first elder of Thunder God Palace was delayed a little. In addition, Jian Wushuang was too strong and too fast. When the first elder of Thunder God Palace arrived, the two principal enforcement elders were already dead. But Emperor Rain was still alive and had not been completely suppressed. First elder, this is the person who killed Jin Huang and the third and eighth principal enforcement elders. If you hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid I would have died in his hands, and at the very least, I would have been suppressed. Emperor Rain stared at Jian Wushuang. He gnashed his teeth and said, the first elder of Thunder God Palace also fixed his eyes on Jian Wushuang. A third-level ruler? The first elder of Thunder God Palace narrowed his turbid eyes slightly. First elder, although he is only a third-level ruler, his strength is very terrifying. He killed the third and eighth enforcement elders with only 2 strikes. His battle strength is definitely at the pinnacle of the 5th level. He is even stronger than me, Emperor Rain said immediately. I can see that if he doesn't have enough strength, he won't dare to plot against the first principal enforcement elder of the Thunder God Palace. The voice of the first elder of the Thunder God Palace became cold. I don't know who you are, but since you dare to plot against the Thunder God Palace, you shall die today. Oh, you are very confident? Jian Wushuang's lips curled up. Boom! The first elder of Thunder God Palace made a move directly. He did not move much and simply flipped his hand. In an instant, a large amount of divine power, accompanied by endless power of principles, rapidly gathered in the void. In the blink of an eye, it formed a giant jade-like hand. The giant hand occupied more than half of the sky, and Jian Wushuang was under the cover of the giant hand. He looked up and could clearly sense the destructive aura contained in the giant hand. This is the strength of an ultimate ruler? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had come into contact with an ultimate ruler before. Like Devil Flame, he had been an ultimate ruler at his peak. In the Bone Pupil Galaxy, the Golden Feather Star-Lord and Green Flame Star-Lord he had met were also ultimate rulers. However, even though he had come into contact with them, he had never really fought with a Final Realm ruler. It could even be said that he had never seen a Final Realm ruler fight up close. This caused his judgment of the Final Realm ruler's strength to be slightly off. He had originally thought that the Final Realm ruler and the Fifth Realm ruler only had a difference in the power of their divine power, and that they had fused an additional principle. The difference between the two was almost the same as the difference between a 4th-level ruler and a 5th-level ruler. However, now that Jian Wushuang saw an ultimate ruler making a move, he instantly understood that it was not the case. An ultimate ruler was much more powerful than a 5th-level ruler. Not to mention the power of divine power, just the principles of heaven and earth alone. A 5th-level ruler needed to fuse 8 principles, and an ultimate ruler needed to fuse 9 principles. But one had to know that 9 was the heaven and earth level. Fusing 9 principles was the pinnacle of all cultivators in the universe. Once 9 principles were fused, it meant that he had reached the highest level in the principles of heaven and earth and had no chance of further improvement. After reaching this level in the same principles, a cultivator's strength would undergo a qualitative transformation. This change included all kinds of aspects, but the power of the fusion of the 9 principles alone was ridiculously strong. For example, the seemingly casual palm of the first elder of the Thunder God Palace had brought Jian Wushuang endless pressure. Humph! Jian Wushuang snorted coldly, and the Wuxia divine sword in his hand burst out with majestic power. An extremely violent aura condensed in his hand. It seemed to be able to cut through the sky and cut open the vast universe. Whoosh! The huge sword light directly slashed out, carrying Jian Wushuang's highest understanding of the universe origin of sword principle, his comprehension of the universe principles, and most importantly, the two were perfectly combined. Jian Wushuang had used the universe principles in the past years and combined them with sword principle to the extreme. His strength had also reached the extreme and he had just displayed his strongest sword move. The sword move was the first move of splitting heaven. The same sword skill had been perfected over tens of thousands of years and was no longer the same as before. Boom! The world suddenly shook and the surrounding void seemed unable to withstand the impact of the two terrifying forces and began to shake. In the blink of an eye, More than half of the mountain where the Blood Thunder Cliff was located disappeared. Previously, when the Blood Thunder Cliff was destroyed by the Devil Flame, there was at least a piece of debris left, but now there was no debris, only the bare mountain wall was left. Under the impact of the two supreme forces, the giant crystal hand that covered more than half of the void was broken in the middle. The entire palm was split in half, obviously forcefully split in half by someone. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang appeared beside Devil Flame. "Let's go," Jian Wushuang said, and then rushed toward the surrounding void with Devil Flame. After a long while, the void slowly calmed down and the overwhelming power dissipated. The old figure, the first elder of the Thunder God Palace, was still standing in the highest void with a calm expression. As for Emperor Rain King, who was beside him, he was extremely anxious. "First Elder, that brat has escaped. Aren't you going to chase after him?" Emperor Rain King asked in a low voice. "Do you think that this old man doesn't want to kill him?" The first elder of the Thunder God Palace coldly glanced at Emperor Rain King. Emperor Rain King was startled. When he sensed the cold eyes of the first elder of the Thunder God Palace, his heart could not help but shudder. Only then did he remember that although he was also one of the highest-ranking members of the Thunder God Palace and held an important position in the palace, compared to the first elder in front of him, the difference was still like heaven and earth. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace, the ultimate ruler, was one of the most powerful forces of the Thunder God Palace. After all, the ultimate ruler was the most powerful force in the entire Nine Luminaries Great Star area. There were only about 20 of them in the entire Nine Luminaries Great Star area, while the Thunder God Palace only had 3. Any one of these 3 ultimate dominators was the true pillar of the Thunder God Palace, and they could not fall. But like Emperor Rain, although he was the temple ruler of the Principal Enforcement Temple and the #1 Principal Enforcement Elder, if he died, the Thunder God Palace could easily find someone to replace him. But the First Elder could not be replaced. And how could he teach the First Elder how to do things? Grand Elder, could it be that even you can't kill him? Emperor Rain Ruler became extremely obedient this time and even addressed him as you in a humble tone. "Humph, although I don't know where this kid came from, his strength is indeed very strong. Although he is only a 3rd-level ruler, his divine power isn't any weaker than a 5th-level ruler. Most importantly, he has comprehended the principles of the universe, and his comprehension of the principles of the universe has reached an extremely high level, far exceeding our imaginations. Just by relying on his comprehension of the principles of the universe, he can already be considered invincible among 5th-level rulers. Even compared to an ultimate ruler, he isn't much weaker. Didn't you see that my palm was cut in half by his sword? Although I didn't use my full strength, I'm sure that I can't kill him even if I use my full strength. If I want to kill him, I need 2 or even 3 ultimate rulers to do it at the same time," the First Elder said in a deep voice. "That kid is so powerful?" Emperor Rain was shocked. He did not expect that the First Elder would have such a high opinion of Jian Wushuang. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was able to cut the First Elder's giant crystal hand in half with a single strike. His strength was really impressive. "Let's go back first. When we get back, you can tell me what happened. I want to know why this person set you up," the First Elder said. "Yes." Emperor Rain nodded respectfully. Soon, the First Elder and Emperor Rain returned to the Thunder God Palace. In the vast void, a universe boat stopped quietly. Jian Wushuang and Lung Rushuang sat together in the universe boat, while Devil Flame stood beside them. "It failed. I didn't expect that Emperor Rain would be trapped in a well-designed trap. We were able to completely suppress him, but in the end, he still escaped." Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, a trace of unwillingness in his eyes. "I miscalculated," Jian Wushuang thought. "I thought I could only attract Emperor Rain by letting the Devil Flame attack the Blood Thunder Cliff. I didn't expect Emperor Rain to come, but the First Elder of the Thunder God Palace is following me." The appearance of the First Elder of the Thunder God Palace was indeed unexpected to Jian Wushuang. However, it was not his miscalculation. After all, the reason why the First Elder of the Thunder God Palace came was just an accident. If the First Elder had not happened to meet Emperor Rain in the Thunder God Palace and sensed that something was wrong, there would not have been an ultimate level ruler rushing here. This was an accident for Jian Wushuang, not a miscalculation. The real miscalculation was his judgment of the ultimate ruler's strength. I thought that as long as I combined the use of universal principles with sword principle and reached the first realm of the Purple Blood secret manual, I would be able to fight an ultimate ruler head-on. But now it seems that's not the case, Jian Wushuang said. He had just fought with the first elder of Thunder God Palace. Although it was only a one-time fight, Jian Wushuang could already feel the huge difference in strength between him and his opponent. The ultimate level ruler was much more powerful than the fifth level ruler, much more powerful than Jian Wushuang had expected. Although it seemed that he had directly cut the giant palm of the first elder of Thunder God Palace into two, in fact, Jian Wushuang knew very well that he had used all his strength in that sword attack. He had displayed his strongest swordsmanship, and the power of all his techniques had reached its peak. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace had just casually attacked. If the first elder of the Thunder God Palace attacked with all his strength in a head-on confrontation, I would definitely not be his match. Perhaps I can only truly fight against him if I use all my trump cards, Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. In terms of trump cards, the sword formation, the dragon-killing secret skill, and the original universe, which were his innate divine abilities granted by the universal principles, were all his trump cards. However, Jian Wushuang would not use these trump cards easily. But once he used them, his strength would increase dramatically in a short period of time. In the previous situation, with the great elder of the Thunder God Palace around, I'm afraid I won't be able to do anything to Emperor Rain even if I use all my strength. After this battle, Emperor Rain will definitely be very careful in his actions. I'm afraid it's impossible for me to attack him again, Jian Wushuang muttered. It was likely that Emperor Rain was not the only one. After this battle, Emperor Rain would definitely tell all the high-level experts of the Thunder God Palace about his purpose of coming here. The top-level experts of the Thunder God Palace would definitely be extremely vigilant. They would be on guard against him at all times. It would be 10 times more difficult for him to attack the top-level experts of the Thunder God Palace. Husband. Lung Rushuang looked at Jian Wushuang. She knew that Jian Wushuang was unwilling to accept this. It's okay. Jian Wushuang shook his head. After this battle, I won't be able to attack the top experts of the Thunder God Palace for a while. Well, I'll wait for a while and cultivate the 4th level of the supreme level undying celestial body first. Then I'll have a way to deal with the Thunder God Palace, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Lung Rushuang nodded slightly. Then Jian Wushuang found a hidden place in the 9 luminary star field and stayed there for the time being. Jian Wushuang directly began to cultivate in seclusion. What he cultivated was naturally the 4th level of the supreme eternal celestial body. Previously, many treasures needed to cultivate the 4th level of the supreme eternal celestial body had already been in his hands. What he needed to do now was to carefully comprehend them, and with the help of these treasures, he could truly cultivate the 4th level of the supreme eternal celestial body. This process was not difficult, but it would take some time. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years had passed. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang's divine body had reached the final stage of transformation. Finally, with the explosion of Jian Wushuang's divine body, Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes, and a ray of hot light burst out. Ha! It worked! Jian Wushuang laughed in surprise. After meditating in the secret chamber for 3,000 years, and with the help of many treasures, he finally cultivated the 4th level of the supreme eternal celestial body. In fact, it took Jian Wushuang more than 10,000 years to cultivate the 2nd and 3rd levels of the supreme eternal celestial body. The 4th level was even more difficult than the first 3 levels, however, it only took Jian Wushuang 3,000 years to cultivate it, mainly because after he broke through to the ruler realm, his vision and comprehension speed were much faster than before. Whether it was comprehension or cultivation, naturally the speed was also faster. As expected, once I cultivate the 4th level of the supreme eternal celestial body, my divine body will undergo a huge transformation. After the transformation, the strength of my divine body should be comparable to an ordinary low-grade principal supreme treasure. Jian Wushuang looked around his divine body. Feeling the strength of his divine body and the enormous power hidden in it, he was extremely excited. Previously, when he had completed the third level, his body was comparable to a universe supreme true treasure, which was still powerful enough. However, a universe supreme true treasure and a principal true treasure were completely different. Now that he had completed the fourth level of the supreme undying body, his divine body was comparable to an ordinary low-grade principal true treasure. In terms of the strength of his divine body, it was more than 100 times stronger. The stronger his divine body was, the more powerful his body defense would be. Even the power contained in his divine body would be more astonishing. Jian Wushuang could clearly sense that the power released by his divine body alone was close to the power of a fifth-level ruler. Under the amplification of the power of the will given by the universal principle, the power of his divine body could be directly magnified by 10 times. In other words, the power of Jian Wushuang's divine power had also been greatly enhanced. His overall strength had increased by another level. Now I am qualified to compete with an ultimate-level ruler, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. In the past 3,000 years, he had only fought with the first elder of Thunder God Palace once, and then he immediately left. At that time, he could see that there was a big gap between his strength and his opponents. However, now that he had cultivated the fourth level of the supreme immortal celestial body, his divine body's strength had soared, and his overall strength had increased by another level. If he met the first elder of Thunder God Palace again, perhaps there would still be a gap in strength, but at least Jian Wushuang now had the confidence to face him. Moreover, the most terrifying thing about the increase in the strength of his divine body was its protective ability. The protective ability of his divine body, which was comparable to an inferior-grade principal supreme treasure, was so heaven-defying that even the attack of an ultimate-level ruler would not cause much damage to Jian Wushuang's divine body. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was also protected by the armor of an inferior-grade principal supreme treasure. The protective ability of the low-grade principal true treasure armor alone was already powerful enough. The attack of a ruler at the ultimate level was enough to strike the low-grade principal true treasure armor. 10% of its power can pass through the treasure armor into the body of God is good enough. The remaining 10% of its power could barely shake Jian Wushuang's divine body, which was comparable to a lower-grade principal supreme treasure armor. Jian Wushuang was a perfect life. His divine power was as vast as the sea, and his endurance was much stronger than that of ordinary cultivators. The armor of a low-grade principal-type true treasure is combined with a divine body that is comparable to a low-grade principal-type true treasure. If I'm not mistaken, ordinary final-level rulers can't hurt me at all. Only some experts among final-level rulers or some top-notch existences can really hurt me. As for killing me among final-level rulers, perhaps only those who are more heaven-defying and have already comprehended a part of the universe's principles are able to do so, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Ultimate rulers were already experts in the universe, and there were not many of them. In total, there were only about 20 ultimate rulers in the ancient and well-established Great Star Field like the 9 Luminaries' Great Star Field. Ultimate rulers who had comprehended the universe principles were even rarer. Even in the deepest part of the universe, there were not many such rulers. However, the 9 Luminaries' Great Star Field was only close to the depths. After all, it was not in the depths of the universe. Jian Wushuang had read about the ultimate rulers in the 9 Luminaries' Star Field. He knew that there was not even one ultimate ruler who had comprehended the universe principles in the entire 9 Luminaries' Star Field. Even the strongest palace ruler of the Thunder God Palace, who was considered to be at the top level among the ultimate rulers, was still far from the ultimate ruler who had comprehended the universe principles. This meant that no one could kill him in the 9 Luminaries galaxy unless there was a hidden ultimate ruler or a hidden supreme expert. With such a powerful body protection ability, Jian Wushuang was naturally confident. If I want to get what I want from the Thunder God Palace, I have to find a way to make the palace compromise. However, my body protection ability is strong, but my offensive ability is only close to that of an ultimate ruler. This strength alone is not enough to make the palace compromise. It seems that I have to prepare well. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. Soon, he walked out of the secret chamber, stayed with Lung Rushuang and Devil Flame, and soon arrived at the 9 Emperor Pavilion. Blood Sword, my friend. Feishue, one of the supervisors of the 9 Emperor Pavilion, continued to receive Jian Wushuang and the other two. Supervisor Feishue. I have some venom in my hand. Take a look. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and took out jade bottles. Each of these jade bottles contained a drop of venom, a total of 9 drops. In fact, there were 12 drops in total. Jian Wushuang had used 1 drop to kill Thunderstar Lord, and the other 2 drops had been refined during his journey. They were hidden in his Wuxia divine sword. Since they were already refined, Jian Wushuang naturally did not take them out. Venom. Feishue took the jade bottles, opened the stopper, and carefully observed them for a while. Then she smiled and said, Blood Sword, your poison is of high quality. It should be produced by a poison ruler who is an ultimate ruler. The value of this poison is not bad. I can give you 1 drop of it for 1,000 universe origin stones. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Back in the purple microgalaxy, Balmer had given him the same price. Buy all 9 drops of venom for me. In addition, I need a few drops of higher-level venom, Jian Wushuang said. Ha! Feishue could not help looking at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Higher-level venom? My friend Bloodsword, what are you? It's none of your business what I want to do. Just give me the venom, Jian Wushuang said. Of course, Feishue said with a smile again. But the 9 drops of venom are of high quality and extremely valuable. Under normal circumstances, 1 drop of venom can easily kill a ruler at the pinnacle of the 5th level. Even an ultimate level ruler will be severely injured if he is not killed by this drop of venom. A higher level venom is the kind of venom that will kill even an ultimate level ruler. Yes, that's what I want, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. He was determined to make a move against Thunder God Palace, and he had to make it compromise. Since he wanted to make it compromise, he had to make it fear him. However, he was not strong enough, so he could only rely on this terrifying venom. Once he had 2 or 3 drops of this venom and refined them into the Wuxia divine sword, it would be equivalent to rulering several killing weapons. He could kill the ultimate level ruler of Thunder God Palace if he was not careful. This was what truly terrified the Thunder God Palace. Bloodsword, although I don't know why you want this venom, I have to tell you in advance that this venom, which can kill an ultimate level ruler in 1 drop, is mostly refined by a poison ruler at the supreme level. It's also extremely difficult to use this venom. If you are not careful, you will die first, not to mention killing your enemies, Feishue said solemnly. I know that. Jian Wushuang nodded. He knew that, but it was not a problem for him. After all, his soul was invincible. He would not really die during the process of refining the poison. At most, his soul would be destroyed a few more times. Well, since you already know, I won't say any more. There are 3 types of venom that can easily kill an ultimate ruler that I can find for you in the 9 Emperor Pavilion. 2 of the 3 types of venom are personally refined by a supreme-level poison ruler, and the other one is refined by a supreme-level poison ruler. Although he is only a ruler, his ability to refine venom is no worse than those supreme-level poison rulers, Feishue said. What's the price of these 3 poisons? Jian Wushuang asked. The first 2 poisons refined by supreme-level poison rulers cost 8,000 universe origin stones each. As for the poison refined by the ultimate ruler poison ruler, it's much cheaper. It only costs 5,000 universe origin stones, Feishue said. So expensive. Jian Wushuang gasped. Expensive? Actually, it's already considered cheap. Feishue smiled and said, Bloodsword. You should know that the venom is personally refined by a supreme-level poison ruler. Each drop contains the blood and sweat of a supreme-level expert. If used well, this drop of venom can easily kill those ultimate rulers who stand at the top. If it's not because the venom itself is too corrosive and difficult to use, the value of this venom is much more than that. Jian Wushuang could understand. After all, it was a poison concocted by a supreme-level poison ruler. 1 drop was enough to easily destroy an ultimate-level ruler, so it was normal for it to be a little more expensive. If it was not because the way the poison was used was too harsh and difficult, the price would probably be even more expensive. 8,000 universe origin stones for 1 drop. I just bought 9 drops of venom and only got 9,000 universe origin stones. Even with all the resources I have left, I can't buy 2 drops of such venom. It seems that I can only settle for the second best, Jian Wushuang thought. Supervisor Fei Xue, give me 2 drops of venom for each drop of 5,000 origin stones, Jian Wushuang said. Sure. 2 drops of poison, 10,000 origin stones in total, Fei Xue said. Jian Wushuang immediately gave Fei Xue the origin stones he had obtained after selling the 9 drops of poison. Then, he took out 1,000 origin stones from his accumulation. My friend Bloodsword, there is one more thing I have to remind you. Even if you manage to refine the poison, you can only use it in a simple way. For example, you can merge it into your magic weapon, and then let the poison corrode the opponent's divine body during the attack. However, there is a prerequisite for this method. Your magic weapon must come into contact with the opponent's divine body. In other words, you must really attack the opponent's divine body, Fei Xue said. Of course, I know that, Jian Wushuang said. Fei Xue did not say anything more and immediately went down to prepare the 2 drops of venom. Soon, Fei Xue brought the 2 drops of brand new venom to Jian Wushuang. The 2 drops of venom were completely black and ink-like. Although they were in a jade bottle, when Jian Wushuang's soul power came into contact with them, his body and mind became completely cold and his soul almost froze. As expected, these 2 drops of venom are much more powerful than the one I got from 9 Whiskers. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. Without a doubt, any one of these 2 drops of venom could be fatal to an ultimate ruler. Jian Wushuang left the 9 Emperor Pavilion with the 2 drops of venom. Then he found a new place and began to refine the 2 drops of venom. It was even more difficult to refine such a high-level venom. It took Jian Wushuang a long time to barely refine 1 drop of the inferior venom he got from 9 Whiskers, and he also spent a lot of energy. Of course, the current Jian Wushuang was definitely different from before. Not only had he made great progress in strength, but he also had sufficient experience in refining the venom. Therefore, it did not take him too long to refine it again, although the level was higher. After 2,000 years, Jian Wushuang had completely refined the 2 drops of venom into his Wuxia divine sword. On average, he had refined 1 drop every 1,000 years. I've already refined the 4th level of the supreme imperishable celestial body, and I've completely mastered the 2 drops of venom, which are worth 10,000 universe origin stones. They have become my trump card. Now everything is ready. Even if I have more time, my strength and skills won't be able to improve any further. It's time to find the Thunder God Palace. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes, which were filled with a fierce light. He was definitely going to attack the Thunder God Palace. There was no doubt about that. It was just that when he attacked 5,000 years ago, his strength was obviously not enough. But now it was almost enough. Husband, what are you going to do this time? Do you have a plan? Lung Rushuang looked at him. I've already thought of a plan. To be exact, I don't have a plan. I'll just kill them, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Kill them? Husband, are you going to? Leng Rushuang looked surprised and worried. Don't worry. After I've cultivated the 4th level of the supreme level undying celestial body, almost no one can kill me except for the supreme level. As for the Thunder God Palace, although there are 3 final level rulers, I'm confident that I can deal with them, Jian Wushuang said with a confident smile. Shuang-er, you and Devil Flame stay in the universe boat and wait for my news, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Lung Rushuang nodded. Jian Wushuang immediately set off for the Thunder God Palace. The Thunder God Palace was one of the 4 most powerful forces in the 9 Luminaries galaxy. It had a deep foundation and many experts. There were 3 ultimate level rulers. 5,000 years ago, although Jian Wushuang had attacked the Thunder God Palace once, he only wanted to attack one of the highest levels of the palace. That was why he lured Emperor Rain out, but he did not expect to fail in the end. But now, Jian Wushuang did not plan to hide his attack for the second time. He wanted to directly attack the Thunder God Palace and use his absolute strength to make the palace compromise and bow down to him. Before I really go to the nest of the Thunder God Palace, I should first get some chips. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not go to the nest of the Thunder God Palace, but went to the Purple Thunderstar world under the command of the Thunder God Palace. There were 8 level 1-star worlds in the 9 great star fields, which were still in the evolution stage. These 8-level 1-star worlds were controlled by the 4 strongest forces in the 9 luminaries' great star field. The Purple Thunder Star World was a level 1-star world under the control of the Thunder God Palace. It must be known that the Thunder God Palace was very powerful in the 9 luminaries' great star field and had countless star worlds under its command. For example, there were dozens of level 2-star worlds under the command of the Thunder God Palace. Because it had so many second-class star worlds under its command, the Thunder God Palace did not pay much attention to Jian Wushuang when he destroyed the Blood Thunder Cliff. But the first-class star worlds were different. There were only 8 first-class star worlds in the 9 luminary star field, and the Thunder God Palace only had 2. These 2 first-class star worlds were very important to the Thunder God Palace. But today, Jian Wushuang arrived in the first-class astral world, the Purple Thunder Star World. The Purple Thunder Star World had a supreme holy land, the Purple Thunder region, which was occupied by the experts of the Thunder God Palace. The palace had also sent many experts to guard this place all year round. Moreover, there was a powerful magic array around the Purple Thunder region. This magic array was extremely strong, and unless one was an ultimate-level ruler, it would be difficult for anyone to break it. In addition, the Purple Thunder Star World and the Thunder God Palace were connected by a cosmic tunnel. If something big happened in the Purple Thunder Star World, the experts of the Thunder God Palace could come here as soon as possible to rescue them. This made the status of the Thunder God Palace in the Purple Thunder Star World unshakable. In the void above the Purple Thunder region, a figure stood there coldly. This figure was naturally Jian Wushuang. The Thunder God Palace really values the first-class astral world. The array in the Purple Thunder Star World is much more powerful than the one in the Blood Thunder Cliff. I'm afraid that without the strength of an ultimate ruler, it's impossible to break the array. Jian Wushuang looked down at the boundless land in front of him. This land was completely covered by the array. Through the array, he could see the densely packed buildings and a large number of cultivators. This land was the foundation of the Thunder God Palace in the Purple Thunder Star World. Fortunately, this magic array is not difficult for me. Jian Wushuang smiled, but the Wuxia divine sword had already appeared in his hand. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang slashed down with his sword in anger. Jian Wushuang instantly burst out his strongest power, along with the strength of his divine body. The swordsmanship he displayed was the most powerful heaven-opening move. Boom! The majestic sword light directly cut into the ancient magic formation. Instantly, the entire magic formation began to shake violently, as if a huge rock had fallen into the water. In the magic formation, many of the cultivators under the command of the Thunder God Palace raised their heads. What's going on? Someone is attacking the magic formation. This magic formation was personally set up by the Thunder God Palace. Without the strength of an ultimate ruler, it's impossible to move it. But now it's shaking so much after just one attack, as if it can't withstand it. Could it be that an ultimate ruler is attacking? The experts under the Thunder God Palace were all in an uproar, especially those who were at the peak of the Violet Thunder Star World. Quick, send a message to the palace. Tell them that an ultimate ruler is coming. Ask them to send reinforcements immediately. Quick, ask the first elder or the palace ruler to come as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be too late. The 5th-level rulers from the Thunder God Palace had already gathered together in the array. These 5th-level rulers were all extremely powerful. There were even some who stood at the peak of the 5th level. However, none of them could catch up to Emperor Rain Ruler. At this moment, these 5th-level rulers were all filled with panic. The Thunder God Palace was one of the strongest forces in the 9 luminaries' great star field. Almost no one dared to provoke them. Moreover, the Purple Thunder Star Field was one of the 2 first-level star fields under the Thunder God Palace. Could be said that the Thunder God Palace valued the resources the most. It was precisely because the Thunder God Palace valued the Purple Thunder Star area so much that almost no force or expert in the 9 luminaries' great star area dared to come to the Purple Thunder Star area to cause trouble. The rulers who guarded the Purple Thunder Star area had always been living an extremely comfortable life. However, who would have thought that someone would actually come to kill them today? Moreover, judging from the movements of the array formation, the person who came to kill them was most likely an ultimate ruler. The fifth-level rulers were naturally terrified. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The entire magic array was shaking crazily, and it was on the verge of collapsing. However, in the end, the magic array still withstood Jian Wushuang's sword. It didn't collapse? Jian Wushuang looked at the magic array in surprise, but then he smiled and slashed down with the Wuxia divine sword again. If one sword was not enough, he would do it again. Boom! The sword light, which was also extremely powerful, mercilessly slashed at the magic formation again. The magic formation, which had been on the verge of collapse because of the first sword light, could no longer withstand the same attack. It was mercilessly torn apart by the sword light on the spot. The entire magic formation collapsed completely, turning into a vast amount of energy and dissipating in the void. The cultivators of the Thunder God Palace, who had been hiding under the formation, were now completely exposed to Jian Wushuang. The cultivators who were looking down at the Thunder God Palace were in a mess. Jian Wushuang did not draw his sword again. Instead, he waved his hand and 3 towering golden stone tablets rose up. The 3 heaven suppression tablets appeared at the same time and almost instantly covered the huge buildings below. As the divine devil heaven suppressing formation was activated, the boundless suppressive force instantly pressed down on the cultivators of Thunder God Palace. The suppressive force was so strong that even a 5th-level ruler would find it difficult to resist it. As for the 4th-level rulers, the 3rd-level rulers, and even the weaker ones under the suppressive force, they even lost their ability to resist. Some people even knelt down on the spot. "Ha! Come in." Jian Wushuang smiled. There was a hidden independent space in the 3 heaven suppression tablets. This independent space was actually a prison used to suppress people. Now Jian Wushuang directly attacked. Ancient golden palms extended out from the 3 heaven suppression tablets. The speed of these golden palms was incredible. They dragged the cultivators of the Thunder God Palace into the independent space and suppressed them. The cultivators of the Thunder God Palace could not resist the divine devil heaven suppressing formation. In just a moment, a large number of cultivators were suppressed by Jian Wushuang into the independent space in the heaven suppression tablet. The only ones who were not suppressed were the 5th-level rulers. My divine power is only at the 5th level. Even if I control the 3 heaven suppression tablets and use the divine devil heaven suppressing formation, I won't be able to suppress the 5th-level rulers directly. But it doesn't matter. I just need to spend a little more effort, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He had already rushed toward the crowd in front of him. At this moment, more than a dozen 5th-level rulers of the Thunder God Palace in the purple Thunderstar world had gathered together, but their eyes were filled with fear. It must be known that they had just watched as their subordinates had been suppressed by someone. None of them had been able to resist at all, but now everyone else had been suppressed, leaving only them behind. These 5th-level rulers suddenly raised their heads. They all noticed a figure speeding toward them. Is that a 3rd-level ruler? The one attacking us is not an ultimate ruler, but a 3rd-level ruler? That's impossible. The rulers were stunned. Jian Wushuang did not bother with them. As soon as he got close, he attacked. Sword shadows appeared in his hands. 5,000 years ago, he could easily kill an expert at the peak of the 5th level before he had reached the 4th level of the supreme level undying celestial body. Although there were more than a dozen 5th-level rulers here, only 2 or 3 of them had reached the peak. Although there were more of them, Jian Wushuang could still deal with them easily. In just a short while, the dozen or so 5th-level rulers were killed by Jian Wushuang until they were at their weakest. Then they were suppressed by Jian Wushuang. There are more than a dozen 5th-level rulers, 4th-level rulers, and 3rd-level rulers. As for the 1st-level rulers, 2nd-level rulers, and principal rulers, there are countless of them. Although I have captured many people, I'm afraid that only a dozen 5th-level rulers and a few 4th-level rulers are worthy of Thunder God Palace's attention. But it shouldn't be a big deal for a big force like the Thunder God Palace to lose so many experts. It seems that I don't have enough chips. I have to catch more experts from the palace, Jian Wushuang thought. After making up his mind, Jian Wushuang immediately left the purple Thunderstar world and rushed to the other star worlds under the command of the Thunder God Palace. Not long after Jian Wushuang left, a dazzling light lit up on the ground below, followed by a powerful aura appearing in the area. These people were all experts from the Thunder God Palace who had received the message and rushed to the rescue at the fastest speed. The leader of them was the first elder of the Thunder God Palace. "Where is everyone? Why is there no one here?" The first elder frowned and looked around. His soul power had already spread out, but he did not sense any aura in the vast void around him, including the many cultivators under the command of the Thunder God Palace who should have been here. There was not a single one. "Is he late?" The first elder immediately understood, although he had rushed here as soon as he received the message. It had only taken him a short time to get here from the Thunder God Palace, but there was nothing he could do. Jian Wushuang's speed was too fast. With just 2 strikes, he had broken the formation of the earth. Then, he used a suppression-type principal treasure to directly suppress the many cultivators under him. It had only been a short time from Jian Wushuang's attack to the time when he suppressed all the experts and left. The first elder had indeed failed to catch up. According to the previous news, the person who attacked was a third-level ruler. However, the strength of this third-level ruler is very likely to be able to suppress all the experts of our Thunder God Palace in the Purple Thunderstar world in an extremely short period of time. This third-level ruler. The first elder's eyes were cold. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the person who attacked Emperor Rain previously. The first elder had guessed that it was Jian Wushuang, but he could not do anything about it. After all, he did not know where Jian Wushuang was, and he did not have Jian Wushuang's communication token, so he could not find Jian Wushuang at all. In desperation, the first elder of Thunder God Palace had to take his people back to Thunder God Palace. However, not long after he returned to Thunder God Palace, there was news that a second-level astral world under the command of Thunder God Palace had been attacked by a third-level ruler in a very short period of time. Almost all the experts in the second-level astral world had been suppressed by the other party. Then, another second-level astral world was attacked again. In order to increase his bargaining chip with the Thunder God Palace, Jian Wushuang did not hesitate to go to one astral world after another under the control of the palace and attack the experts of the palace. He did not kill any of the experts of the palace. Instead, he used a thunderous method to suppress all the experts of the palace and lock them in the independent space of the Heaven Suppression Tablet. One astral world after another was suppressed. Although the Thunder God Palace had responded and issued various orders to deal with Jian Wushuang's attack, they were all useless. However, the result was useless. Jian Wushuang definitely had the strength of an ultimate ruler, and the Thunder God Palace only had 3 ultimate rulers, all of whom were still in the nest of the Thunder God Palace. In other words, as long as Jian Wushuang did not go to the nest of the palace would not be able to do anything to him. As for the star worlds under the palace, although they had a certain amount of power, it was a joke in front of Jian Wushuang. He could easily sweep through the second-grade star worlds by himself. He could suppress the experts of the Thunder God Palace. Just like that, Jian Wushuang swept through 1 first-level star world, 15 second-level star worlds, and suppressed countless experts of the Thunder God Palace. Although the Thunder God Palace was thinking of various countermeasures so far, they had not threatened Jian Wushuang. After sweeping through 15 second-level star worlds, Jian Wushuang finally stopped. 15 second-level astral worlds, including the Purple Thunder Star World, all the experts left by the Thunder God Palace in these astral worlds have been suppressed by me. So far, I have suppressed more than 45th-level rulers, hundreds of 4th-level rulers and 3rd-level rulers, not to mention the number of other rulers and principal rulers. There are also some talented geniuses among them. Even the Thunder God Palace should care about such a force, right? Jian Wushuang smiled. These experts that he had suppressed would all become his bargaining chips. And in his opinion, the bargaining chips he had now might not be enough to make the Thunder God Palace nervous or furious, but it was definitely enough to make the Thunder God Palace pay attention. At the very least, the Thunder God Palace didn't dare to ignore this power. Once he went all out and killed all these experts that had been suppressed, he believed that the Thunder God Palace would also be anxious. To be able to reach this point was already enough. With these chips, it should be more than enough. Even if I continue to sweep through an astral world and an astral world like this, Although I can capture even more experts from the Thunder God Palace, it would only be icing on the cake. In addition, the Thunder God Palace isn't stupid. Previously, it was me who acted too quickly. But now, they should have already reacted and ordered those astral world experts to hide. They won't give me the chance to continue suppressing them. It's about time. Next, I should go to the Thunder God Palace and have a face-to-face talk with the ultimate ruler of the Thunder God Palace. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and immediately set off toward the headquarters of the Thunder God Palace. At this moment, the Thunder God Palace was already in a state of fury. The Thunder God Palace had been dominating the 9 luminary star field for too long. Over the long period of time, the Thunder God Palace had been high and mighty in the 9 luminary star field. Other than the 3 strongest forces that were on par with him, no one in the 9 luminaries' great star area dared to provoke the Thunder God Palace. Even final realm rulers generally would not dare to provoke the Thunder God Palace. This was because the Thunder God Palace not only had 3 final realm rulers, but also had a deep foundation. They had all kinds of trump cards and had the ability to kill the final realm rulers. It was because of this that the Thunder God Palace was able to occupy such a vast territory and control so many astral worlds. But today, the Thunder God Palace was truly provoked. Not only was it provoked, it was even humiliated. It was pressed to the ground and rubbed against each other. The entire Thunder God Palace was naturally furious. Within the Thunder God Palace, the 3 ultimate rulers of the Thunder God Palace, the Thunder God Palace Master, the First Elder of the Thunder God Palace, and the Blood Thunder General, had gathered together. Have you found out who that person is? The Thunder God Palace Master asked coldly. No, the First Elder of the Thunder God Palace shook his head. If I'm not wrong, this person should be from another star field. He is an outsider. The reason why he attacked my Thunder God Palace this time is related to the person we put a bounty on. Right now, he is sweeping through many star worlds under my Thunder God Palace and suppressing our experts. I guess he is using these suppressed experts as bargaining chips to negotiate with my Thunder God Palace. Negotiate? Humph! Thunder God Palace Master snorted and looked around. Has the order been given? It has been given. The experts of Thunder God Palace have hidden in the star worlds that are important to us. Even if that person rushed over now, he would only be able to find nothing. As for the ordinary star worlds, such as a large number of level 3 star worlds, I have also ordered some important people to hide, said the First Elder of Thunder God Palace. That's good. Thunder God Palace Master nodded slightly. There were too many star worlds under the control of Thunder God Palace. If they allowed Jian Wushuang to sweep through them one by one, Thunder God Palace would not be able to withstand it. Since he wants to get enough bargaining chips to negotiate with us, he should come to us if he can't use them, Thunder God Palace Master said. That should be the case. The First Elder of Thunder God Palace nodded. At this moment, Thunder God Palace Master, come out and talk. A magnificent voice was suddenly transmitted from the void outside of Thunder God Palace, resounding in the entire Thunder God Palace. The Thunder God Palace Master, the First Elder of Thunder God Palace, and the Blood Thunder General immediately raised their heads. He came to our door so soon? The Thunder God Palace Master narrowed his eyes. How dare he come directly to my Thunder God Palace's lair? He's really courting death. The First Elder of Thunder God Palace smiled coldly. Let's go and meet him together. The 3 palace masters left at the same time. Jian Wushuang stood alone in the void outside of Thunder God Palace with his hands behind his back. He looked down at the ancient sect below. It was worthy of being one of the strongest forces in the 9 luminaries galaxy. The Thunder God Palace's nest was majestic and beautiful. The sect-protecting formation alone was terrifying. Jian Wushuang's eyesight was not bad. He could tell at a glance that the sect-protecting formation of the Thunder God Palace's nest. It was probably impossible to break in forcefully without the strength of a supreme-level expert. The Thunder God Palace's heritage is extraordinary. Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim in admiration. Whoosh! 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 3 figures suddenly burst out of Thunder God Palace and arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. Behind them were experts from Thunder God Palace. including the first principal enforcement elder, Emperor Rain. The three ultimate rulers of Thunder God Palace are all here. Jian Wushuang looked at the three people in front of him with a smile. Among them, he had fought with the first elder of the Thunder God Palace. However, the first elder was clearly standing on the side. The leader was the burly man in purple armor. The burly man in purple armor should be the Thunder God Palace Master, a top-notch ultimate ruler. Jian Wushuang could not help but feel a sense of fear when he glanced at the burly man. He was also an ultimate ruler, but the Thunder God Palace Master was much stronger than all the other ultimate rulers he had met before. Thunder God Palace Master, I've heard a lot about you. Jian Wushuang smiled and greeted him as if he was an old friend. Humph! Thunder God Palace Master snorted. Are you the one who swept through more than 10-star worlds under Thunder God Palace and suppressed many cultivators of Thunder God Palace? Yes, I am. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. A third-level ruler can easily defeat a fifth-level ruler. A top-notch genius like you shouldn't hide it. Tell me your name, Thunder God Palace Master said. Blood Sword, Jian Wushuang said. Where are the cultivators under the command of Thunder God Palace? Thunder God Palace Master asked. They are in a suppression-type principal treasure that I carry with me. Don't worry, they are all alive and well. I didn't kill anyone from your palace. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, Thunder God Palace Master, let's talk. Talk? What a joke. Thunder God Palace Master sneered. If you had lowered yourself from the beginning and come to my palace to visit me politely, perhaps we would have had a chance to talk. But now you have attacked my palace without saying anything. You have suppressed many of my palace's cultivators and used them as bargaining chips to threaten my palace to talk to you. I'm sorry. My palace has stood in the 9 Luminaries galaxy for so many years and has never been threatened by anyone. Thunder God Palace Master, do you mean that you don't care about the lives of the experts of your palace? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Haha, they are just dozens of fifth-level rulers. My palace can afford to lose them. Even if they all die, they will die for my palace. Thunder God Palace Master laughed coldly. There was no hesitation in his words. Dozens of fifth-level rulers and a large number of third-level and fourth-level rulers. How could the Thunder God Palace not care about so many experts? Thunder God Palace Master is really bold. Jian Wushuang could not help praising. Blood Sword, you have underestimated the Thunder God Palace. The Thunder God Palace has no intention to talk to you. Since you dare to come to the Thunder God Palace today, you should leave your life behind. Thunder God Palace Master's voice was cold. Go! Kill him! With the order of the Palace Master, the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General behind him immediately attacked. The two ultimate realm rulers did not care about their status at this moment. They attacked Jian Wushuang at the same time. As for the strongest palace master, he was not in a hurry to attack. I wanted to use this little bargaining chip to make the palace give in, but now it seems. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had thought that the negotiation would fail, but he did not expect the palace to be so decisive. They did not even talk about it, they wanted to kill him directly. I have no choice. I can only use the second plan to kill the palace and make them compromise. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. The Wuxia divine sword appeared in his hand, and an extremely powerful aura suddenly rose from his body. Boy, die! A low shout suddenly sounded in the sky. It was the first elder of the Thunder God Palace. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace had fought with Jian Wushuang before. He knew that although Jian Wushuang was only a third-level ruler, his real strength was not weak. Therefore, he did not hold back at the beginning. Buzz! A large amount of green divine power rapidly gathered in the void. In the blink of an eye, it actually formed a huge green jade palm that towered into the sky. This jade palm contained 9 different principles at the same time, perfectly fusing together, causing one's heart to tremble. As the cyan jade palm slowly covered down, the void below seemed to be unable to withstand the power, and cracks appeared faintly, as if it would collapse at any time. Looking at the cyan jade palm slowly covered down, Jian Wushuang smiled coldly and instantly slashed out with his Wuxia divine sword. The strongest power instantly exploded. First move of splitting heaven. Whoosh! The result was the same as before. The green jade palm was cut in half by the majestic sword light, and a large amount of green divine power spread out in all directions. Ha! The first elder of Thunder God Palace could not help frowning. This kid seems to be much stronger than last time. The first elder of Thunder God Palace indeed felt that Jian Wushuang's strength had increased. After all, when he fought with Jian Wushuang last time, his giant hand was also cut in half by Jian Wushuang's sword. But at that time, he did not use his full strength. It was just a casual attack, and Jian Wushuang had used his full strength. But now he had used all his strength. His cyan jade giant hand was much stronger than the palm that had attacked Jian Wushuang. In the end, it was still cut in half by Jian Wushuang's sword. There was no doubt that Jian Wushuang was stronger than before. Whoosh! A ghost-like figure suddenly appeared beside Jian Wushuang. It was none other than the Blood Thunder General, who controlled a special troop of the Thunder God Palace, which was an assassination troop. The Blood Thunder General was also good at assassination. His speed was incredible. When he appeared beside Jian Wushuang, the Blood Thunder General drew a line in his palm and a long black sword burst out. Jian Wushuang had already reacted. He slightly stepped back while Wuxia Divine Sword instantly cut across him. Clang! When the two come into contact, there was a flash of light. Humph! The Blood Thunder General snorted coldly. The dark long sword in his hand, however, was like a poisonous snake. Pest! 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 A sword followed a sword with the fastest speed burst forward. Just in a blink of an eye, the Blood Thunder General directly stabbed hundreds of swords. Each sword was extremely fast, and the power is extremely terrifying. However, to his surprise, Jian Wushuang's speed was not slow at all. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang also stabbed hundreds of times, completely blocking his attack. Clang! With another sound of metal colliding, Blood Thunder General's figure floated backward like a ghost. This kid, Blood Thunder General looked at Jian Wushuang in horror. He was an ultimate ruler and an assassin. Speed was his specialty. In the blink of an eye, he had stabbed out hundreds of times. This was definitely one of his killing moves, but his killing move had actually been completely blocked by this third-level ruler. Blood Thunder, be careful. This kid isn't weak at all. The first elder of Thunder God Palace appeared next to Blood Thunder General and said, "I can tell." Blood Thunder General nodded slightly. He has already comprehended the principles of the universe, and judging from the fact that he was able to keep up with my sword arts, his comprehension of the principles of the universe is quite high. He should be able to at least pass the 4th level of the Principle C, or even the 5th level. The 5th level of the Principle C? The first elder of Thunder God Palace was also shocked. They were all ultimate rulers, so they knew clearly what it meant for a 3rd-level ruler to pass the 5th level of the Principle C. Don't hold back. Kill him with all your strength. The first elder of Thunder God Palace shouted. A violent aura rose from his body, and his aura instantly soared. Boom! The first elder of Thunder God Palace turned into a huge dark cloud and charged toward Jian Wushuang. As for General Shuelei, he also disappeared into the void. In the next moment, bang, 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 a series of terrifying explosions could be heard. Jian Wushuang had already fought with the first elder of Thunder God Palace in the dark cloud. Unlike before, the first elder of Thunder God Palace was defeated by Jian Wushuang in a head-on attack. But now the first elder of Thunder God Palace was fighting Jian Wushuang in close combat. The Blood Thunder General hid in the surrounding void with his body, occasionally giving Jian Wushuang a fatal blow. The combination of two ultimate rulers was extremely terrifying, especially the attack of the Blood Thunder General. It was too strange and fast, making it impossible to guard against. If it were an ordinary ultimate ruler, he would probably be in an extremely difficult situation when facing the combined attack of the two. He might even be able to set up a formation very quickly. However, Jian Wushuang was different. Although Jian Wushuang was not an ultimate ruler, and his strength was not even comparable to an ultimate ruler to a certain extent, His advantage was something that most ultimate rulers did not have. That was because his comprehension of the universe principles was too high. His comprehension of the universe principles was extremely high, and it was perfectly combined with sword principle. This made his swordsmanship extremely mysterious. Not only could he easily withstand the head-on attack of the first elder of the Thunder God Palace, but he could also react in time to the repeated attacks of the Blood Thunder General and easily withstand them. Even if it was 1 against 2, he would not be at a disadvantage. Although both of them are very strong, they can indeed defeat an ordinary ultimate ruler. Unfortunately, they are facing me. Jian Wushuang also smiled. In fact, for an expert like him who had a high comprehension of the universe principles and could combine sword principle, the best way to defeat him was to break the principle with force and crush him with his powerful strength. It would be a joke if the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General came to fight him in close combat. The swordsmanship that he displayed was far more exquisite than the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General. If it were not for the fact that he was weaker than the ultimate ruler and the Blood Thunder General's assassination techniques were indeed powerful, he had long repelled these two people. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General had also realized this. No, his swordsmanship is too profound. It's much more exquisite than our attacks. If we fight him in close combat, we're just asking for it. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace said in a low voice, "This kid is indeed very strong. We can't take him down with just the 2 of us." The Blood Thunder General said. While they were talking, they all looked behind them at the same time. The Thunder God Palace Master was there. Thunder God Palace Master stood in the surrounding void and did not make his move. After all, he was the strongest person in Thunder God Palace. Even among the ultimate rulers, he was extremely strong and could even be called a peak existence. He was Thunder God Palace's greatest reliance. But it was precisely because of this that he would not act rashly. Because once he personally acted, it meant that the Thunder God Palace had been pushed to the limit by the other party. Moreover, the person who was currently charging in front of them was only a third-tier ruler. The Thunder God Palace Master had to maintain his identity first. Secondly, he also believed that the Thunder God Palace's first elder and the Blood Thunder General ruler working together, it would be enough to take him down. However, the reality was completely beyond his expectations. The first elder of Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General, 2 ultimate rulers, had joined hands and unleashed their full strength, but they could not do anything to this third-level ruler. Seeing the pleading eyes of the first elder of Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General, Thunder God Palace Master's face turned ashen. After a long while, he finally sighed. "You two leave," Thunder God Palace Master said. The first elder of Thunder God Palace and Blood Thunder General immediately retreated. After leaving Jian Wushuang, they still looked at Jian Wushuang with a trace of horror. Perhaps the onlookers could not see it, but they knew very well that since the 2 of them fought with Jian Wushuang in close combat, not only did the opponent not feel much pressure, but he also became much more relaxed. He easily blocked their attacks as if he was strolling in the garden. From the beginning to the end, their attacks did not cause any pressure to the other party. On the contrary, it was the other party's exquisite swordsmanship that made the 2 of them feel great pressure at all times. Palace Master, this kid's comprehension of the universe principles is too high, and his swordsmanship is also very mysterious. If his strength is not much different from his, he can completely rely on his comprehension of the universe principles to easily play us. The first elder of Thunder God Palace said softly, "I see." Thunder God Palace Master nodded slightly, but his eyes were unusually cold. A third-level ruler can make 2 ultimate rulers of Thunder God Palace helpless. Blood Sword, you are very powerful. Thunder God Palace Master stared at Jian Wushuang. Ever since I became the Thunder God Palace Master, there is almost no one in the 9 luminaries galaxy that I admire. But today, I can't admire you. Without a doubt, you are the most terrifying genius that I have seen in my many years of life. The first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General looked extremely solemn. They both agreed with the words of the Thunder God Palace Master. A third-level ruler was able to fight head-on with their ultimate ruler, and they could not do anything to him even if they joined hands. How difficult was that? Even in the entire universe, it would be difficult to find such a formidable third-level ruler? Thunder God Palace Master, there's no need to compliment me. You can either do it yourself or tell me everything I want to know, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. In that case, it seems that I'll have to do it myself, Thunder God Palace Master said calmly. Although Thunder God Palace Master's words were very calm, Jian Wushuang immediately became vigilant. After all, Thunder God Palace Master was not the same as the previous two. Whether it was the first elder of Thunder God Palace or the Blood Thunder General Ruler, although they were both ultimate rulers, they were only ordinary ultimate rulers. But Thunder God Palace Master was considered to be at the top level among the ultimate rulers. Before Jian Wushuang decided to kill his way to Thunder God Palace, he had carefully inquired about the strength gap between the ultimate rulers of Devil Flame. Devil Flame told him that the strength gap between each level of the ultimate rulers was very huge. Generally speaking, those who could reach the top level among the ultimate rulers could be more than 10 times stronger than ordinary ultimate rulers. Thunder God Palace Master, let me see how strong you are. The strongest expert of the Thunder God Palace. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes, but there was a hint of excitement in them. Thunder God Palace Master did not say anything else. He just looked at Jian Wushuang coldly. The next moment, a huge axe appeared in his hand. It was a red-gold huge axe. It was 5 meters long and was surrounded by layers of golden thunderbolts. These golden thunderbolts danced wildly in the void. An extremely violent aura was transmitted from the huge axe. It's a medium-grade principal treasure. It's almost close to an upper-grade principal treasure. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. He could tell that the huge axe that Thunder God Palace Master took out was not much weaker than his Wuxia divine sword. Die! Thunder God Palace Master said lightly. As soon as he finished his words, he chopped down with the light golden axe in his hand. There were no fancy moves, and Thunder God Palace Master did not want to fight Jian Wushuang in close combat. After all, he knew that Jian Wushuang had a very high comprehension of the universe principles. His swordsmanship was much more exquisite than his axe skills. However, Thunder God Palace's advantage was also very obvious. It was pure power. He could easily kill the ultimate ruler of the 5th level with a casual attack. And now he was using his full strength. As the earth-shaking and terrifying power swept out, countless experts watching the battle showed fear and awe. Even the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General, the 2 ultimate rulers, could not help but feel frightened. The power of the axe of the Thunder God Palace Master was too strong. It was more than 10 times stronger than the most powerful attack of the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General. The mighty axe shadow slashed directly at Jian Wushuang. When the axe shadow arrived, it had completely sealed off the void around Jian Wushuang, giving him no room to escape or dodge. It was purely using force to suppress others. Humph! Jian Wushuang also appeared as fast as lightning and unleashed his strongest power at this moment. The mighty power continued to merge into his Wuxia divine sword. In the next moment, he directly slashed out with his strongest move, the first move of splitting heaven. This sword attack was previously able to cut off the cyan crystal jade palm condensed by the first elder of the Thunder God Palace. At this moment, this majestic sword light collided with the mighty axe shadow. Bang! A low sound of collision rang out, and the surrounding void seemed to tremble at this moment. Jian Wushuang only felt a terrifying power that was completely superior to his own. His heaven-cleaving first move sword skill instantly collapsed, but the mighty golden axe shadow did not lose its momentum. In an instant, it completely submerged his body. Bang! The axe shadow directly hacked Jian Wushuang's body, directly cutting him into the ground below. A huge hole appeared out of nowhere. So powerful! The hearts of many experts from Thunder God Palace, including the first elder of Thunder God Palace and Blood Thunder General, twitched when they saw that Jian Wushuang was instantly cut into the ground below. He was indeed terrifyingly powerful. After all, the first elder of Thunder God Palace and Blood Thunder General could not do anything to Jian Wushuang when they joined hands just now. However, the Thunder God Palace Master had completely crushed Jian Wushuang with only one blow. At the same time, the supreme ruler, the Thunder God Palace Master, was more powerful than the first elder of the Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General. Is the ruler called Blood Sword dead? Such a terrible blow directly hit his divine body. He is only a third-level ruler. Even if he doesn't die, I'm afraid he won't have a good ending. Tell him to come to my Thunder God Palace to provoke us. In my opinion, he's dead for sure. Many cultivators of the Thunder God Palace began to discuss among themselves. They all looked down at the pit in the ground. Suddenly, whoosh! A bolt of lightning shot out from the pit and appeared in the void in the blink of an eye. Haha, as expected of Thunder God Palace Master. His strength is much stronger than that of other ultimate rulers. A hearty laughter echoed in the world. Seeing Jian Wushuang reappear in the void, and sensing that his aura was not weakened at all, the experts of Thunder God Palace were stunned. How could it be? It's fine that he's not dead, but why is he still alive and kicking? His aura is not weakened at all? Could it be that the axe just now did not hurt him? The experts of Thunder God Palace widened their eyes in disbelief. This is impossible. The first elder of Thunder God Palace and the Blood Thunder General shouted at the same time. They were both ultimate rulers with the protection of lower-grade principal true treasure armors. However, even they would be injured by the axe of Thunder God Palace Master. As for Jian Wushuang, although his battle strength was not much weaker than theirs, he was only a third-level ruler? A third-level ruler should not be able to protect his body as well as theirs, right? How could he take the blow and still be unharmed? This kid? Palace Master Thor narrowed his eyes slightly. In fact, he was as shocked as the first elder of Thunder God Palace and the chief of Blood Thunder Army. However, Jian Wushuang did not seem to be injured when he reappeared in front of him. Could it be that this kid has some special treasures, such as some powerful and heaven-defying elixirs, that can heal his injuries in an instant? Thunder God Palace Master could not help but think. But his expression soon recovered. I'd like to see if you really have such a great ability. Thunder God Palace Master attacked again and raised the giant axe in his hand. However, the moment he raised the giant axe this time, the momentum was even greater. The destructive aura condensed in the giant axe was even stronger. Humph! As Thunder God Palace Master snorted, the giant axe in his hand hacked down again. The same axe which used force to suppress people was not fancy, but more powerful and powerful. The mighty shadow of the axe once again arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. However, this time Jian Wushuang did not intend to use the sword skill of the first move of heaven to fight head-on. Instead, he directly activated the sword formation. Buzz! A special energy fluctuation spread out. Streams of special sword essence surged crazily, forming layers of tough sword domains. In a short while, Jian Wushuang had condensed nearly 100 earth sword domains in front of him. Moreover, these earth sword domains were perfectly combined in a special way, forming a huge and complete sword formation of earth protection. It was Jian Wushuang's most powerful protective move, the Earth Guardian Sword Formation. As Jian Wushuang's use of the universal principles continued to improve, and with the perfect combination of sword principle, the power of this sword formation was much stronger than before. This sword formation was definitely Jian Wushuang's most powerful protective move. Boom! The axe shadow with astonishing power finally arrived in front of Jian Wushuang and directly hit the Earth Guardian Sword Formation. The entire Earth Guardian Sword Formation began to tremble crazily at this moment. Layer after layer of the Emperor Sword Realm was destroyed one after another. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the Earth Guardian Sword Formation was destroyed, but the giant axe was still extremely powerful and continued to attack. Finally, all the Earth Sword Realms in the Earth Guardian Sword Formation were destroyed. The Earth Guardian Sword Formation was split open by the axe shadow. My Earth Guardian Sword Formation was defeated? Jian Wushuang secretly clicked his tongue, but he was not surprised. After all, he was an ultimate dominator at the top level, and he had used his ultimate move. It was normal for him to break through the Earth Guardian Sword Formation. However, after the axe shadow destroyed the Earth Guardian Sword Formation, more than half of its power had been consumed. Although the remaining power continued to pass through, It was weakened by the armor of the principal type supreme treasure on Jian Wushuang's body. Not much of it had actually passed through Jian Wushuang's divine body. Jian Wushuang's divine body was also comparable to an inferior grade principal supreme treasure, so it was not a big deal for him to take the attack head-on. On the surface, after taking the attack, Jian Wushuang was only knocked back a relatively long distance before he regained his balance. Jian Wushuang still had a smile on his face. Thunder God Palace Master, was that your strongest attack? If that's all you've got, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed today. With such little strength, you won't even be able to hurt me, let alone kill me. Although Jian Wushuang's words sounded arrogant, he was telling the truth. Thunder God Palace Master's attack could not hurt him. The experts of Thunder God Palace were completely stunned. He is really not injured? He took Palace Master's axe head-on like nothing happened? His aura did not weaken at all. Where did this blood sword come from? Not only the experts of Thunder God Palace, but also the three ultimate rulers of Thunder God Palace. Thunder God Palace Master, the first elder of Thunder God Palace, and Blood Thunder General Ruler all looked extremely gloomy, especially Thunder God Palace Master. If it was the first axe, Thunder God Palace Master suspected that Jian Wushuang was just putting on an act, or that he had been seriously injured and only recovered the instant elixir or special treasure. However, he had clearly seen the whole process of the second axe. There was no such thing as putting on an act or swallowing a treasure to recover divine power. Jian Wushuang took his axe head-on, but he was not injured at all. How is this possible? How is he not injured? The first elder of Thunder God Palace roared. The sword array he just displayed should be a protective sword array. It is extremely powerful, but Palace Master's axe is even more powerful. Although the most powerful axe of Palace Master was weakened by the sword array by more than half, the remaining power still hit him. He has a principal true treasure armor, but the power of that axe cannot be completely blocked by the principal true treasure armor. Even if only 10% of the power of that axe was transmitted to his divine body, it should be enough to kill a third-level ruler easily. At the very least, it should be enough to severely injure him, right? But the result? The Blood Thunder General frowned. It was only now that they realized what a terrifying monster this ruler called Bloodsword was. He was only a third-tier ruler, but his combat power was comparable to an ultimate ruler. His comprehension of the principles of the universe was incredible. At the same time, his protective means were extremely heaven-defying. Even the most powerful axe of Thunder God Palace Master could not hurt him at all. Where did this monster come from? The first elder of Thunder God Palace could not help but ask. He looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of fear in his eyes. Indeed, it was fear. Although Jian Wushuang did not seem to be very strong at the moment, he was still only a third-level ruler. If he could not defeat a third-level ruler, what would happen when he made a breakthrough and reached the fourth, fifth, or ultimate ruler level? By then, the Thunder God Palace would be no different from an ant in front of the Bloodsword ruler. Thunder God Palace Master. Jian Wushuang's voice rang out again. Is that really your strongest move? Hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Thunder God Palace Master frowned and fell silent. It seems so. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He continued, Your Thunder God Palace has been an overlord in the 9 Luminaries galaxy for so many years. With such a deep foundation, you must have many trump cards. Why don't you try them out and see if they can kill me? Thunder God Palace Master fell silent again. It was true that Thunder God Palace had some trump cards. However, even if he used his strongest trump card, he was not confident that he could kill the Bloodsword ruler in front of him. Instead, he had wasted his strongest trump card. Although he did not want to admit it, Thunder God Palace Master knew very well that with the strength of Thunder God Palace, he could not kill the Bloodsword ruler in front of him. Even if Thunder God Palace was desperate, they could not do it. I have given you a chance. It seems that your Thunder God Palace can't seize it. In that case, I will show you my skills next. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly turned cold. What do you want to do? Thunder God Palace Master stared at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly, but his body suddenly moved. Like a ghost, he directly slashed toward the void to the side. In that direction was the Blood Thunder General. Blood Thunder, be careful, Thunder God Palace Master warned him. The Blood Thunder General was already alert, but he was not afraid when he saw Jian Wushuang coming toward him. Although Jian Wushuang's battle strength was not weaker than his, he was not much stronger than him. Logically, Jian Wushuang should not be a threat to him in a one-on-one fight. However, soon, Blood Thunder General's expression changed. So fast. Blood Thunder General's eyes turned red. He was ready to attack when he saw Jian Wushuang appear in front of him, but he did not expect Jian Wushuang's sword move to be so fast. It was unbelievably fast. It was so fast that he, the ultimate ruler, had no time to block it. It was a swordsmanship that was performed right under his nose. He had seen Jian Wushuang's sword, but he could not block it at all. He could not keep up with Jian Wushuang's speed at all. How can it be so fast? Blood Thunder General Ruler was in disbelief. He could only watch as Jian Wushuang's cold sword light passed through his divine body. Ha! Blood Thunder General Ruler was stunned. The power of this sword seems to be very ordinary. It was indeed very ordinary. The moment the sword light flashed past, Blood Thunder General Ruler did not feel much. The power of that sword was very ordinary. It had probably only reached the threshold of an ultimate ruler. Although it had struck his body, however, he had the protection of his principal true treasure armor, so this sword attack could not hurt him at all. Is it just fast? Blood Thunder General Ruler could not help but think. But in the next moment his eyes widened. Oh no! Blood Thunder General Ruler's eyes were red, as if he was about to spit blood. At this moment, he was enduring an extremely terrifying attack. This terrifying attack came from the venom attack carried by the Wuxia Divine Sword. Yes, Jian Wushuang's sword was indeed fast, but its power was very ordinary. Under normal circumstances, it could not hurt Blood Thunder General Ruler, but if the Wuxia Divine Sword was infused with venom, it would be completely different. The moment the venom touched the Blood Thunder General's body along the Wuxia Divine Sword, it immediately passed through the principal true treasure armor and entered the Blood Thunder General's divine body. The Blood Thunder General's true treasure armor could resist material damage, but it could not resist the corrosion of the pervasive venom. In an instant, the terrifying power of the drop of venom completely exploded in the Blood Thunder General's divine body. Pooh! A large mouthful of fresh blood violently spurted out from the Blood Thunder General's mouth. This Blood Thunder General was an ultimate ruler, and at this moment he was so frightened that his face turned pale. His divine power was being consumed at an inconceivable speed. In just an instant, his divine power had actually been consumed by more than 70%. Fortunately, after consuming more than 70% of his divine power, he was able to temporarily suppress the erosive power within his body. Blood Thunder! Blood Thunder! Thunder God Palace Master and the first Elder of Thunder Palace had already arrived beside the Blood Thunder General. Both of them looked anxious. The Blood Thunder General slowly opened his eyes. That was close. I almost died. The Blood Thunder General knew very well that he had indeed walked on the edge of life and death just now. He almost died. Blood Sword. Seeing the miserable look on Blood Thunder General's face, Thunder God Palace Master could not help gnashing his teeth. Jian Wushuang also looked over. Thunder God Palace Master, you may not know this, but I have two different kinds of poison. The one I just used on Blood Thunder General was only a drop worth 1,000 origin stones, but I have a drop worth 5,000 origin stones and a stronger one. Do you want to try it? As soon as he finished speaking, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and a drop of pitch-black poison, which emitted a terrifying aura, appeared in front of him.